Chapter 9:14. At this point, Zhang Dingming didn't dare to say anything. If he said anything now, he would be admitting that he did it and that Zhang Mengguang was helping him. The prestige that he had accumulated as the Grand Elder for many years would be completely destroyed. Without prestige, the Zhang family was no different from the Su family. The lower and middle disciples of Blood Shadow had lost a lot of cultivation resources and were all angry. This anger would be directed at the Zhang family. In the future, Zhou Xian would eliminate the Zhang family. Not only would the others not speak for the Zhang family, but they would also step on them. He didn't say anything, but Su Qinghe wasn't easy to deal with. Zhang Mengguang, the Shadow Lord, has always been merciful. Back then, the Su family offended the Shadow Lord, but the murderer paid with his life. The Su family is still fine. If you can tell us who's behind this, the Shadow Lord will be merciful and demote your family to the Shanbei branch. Everyone could understand the meaning behind his words. He was promising that as long as he told them who was behind this, his family would be sent to the Yan Kingdom. The Wang family controlled both the black and white sides of the Yan Kingdom. No matter how capable Zhang Dingming was, he wouldn't dare to touch the Yan Kingdom. As long as he could go to the Yan Kingdom, it wouldn't be a problem to protect his family. Zhang Mengguang was also good at managing money and could find a good position in the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Hearing Su Qinghe's words, Zhang Mengguang gritted his teeth. I didn't do these accounts. Zhang Dingyi, the finance elder, gave them to me. Before he finished speaking, Zhang Dingming shouted angrily, How dare you talk nonsense? I'll kill you. He waved his hand and shot out a blood-red light toward Zhang Mengguang's head. Suddenly, a water dragon appeared on Zhang Mengguang's body and swallowed the blood-red light. At this time, a loud voice came from all directions. Don't be angry, Grand Elder. Zhang Mengguang is still a member of the Zhang family. It's not good to fight with your family in front of everyone. This water dragon was Wang Daoyuan's method. Blood Shadow City wasn't that big to begin with. At this time, the finance hall's array formation hadn't been activated, so Wang Daoyuan's divine consciousness could reach it. Seeing that Zhang Dingming wanted to attack, he used his divine power field to protect Zhang Mengguang. Originally, he just wanted to kill Zhang Dingyi and destroy Zhang Dingming's prestige. He didn't expect that Zhang Mengguang would break off his relationship with the Zhang family as soon as he started. This was really an unexpected gain. Zhang Dingming's heart was filled with fear. Although his cultivation level was much lower than Wang Daoyuan's, his knowledge was not weak. Naturally, he could recognize the domain divine ability. This spell that was casually condensed was able to dissolve his full-powered attack. Within the range of this domain, Wang Daoyuan could kill him at any time. Zhou Xian said, Zhang Mengguang, if you have anything else to say, you can continue. Zhang Mengguang pleaded, I can tell you everything I know. I only hope that you can send my family to the Yan Kingdom. I've already lived for a long time and my talent is average. I have no hope of forming my nascent soul, so it's no big deal if I die. Zhou Xian nodded. The Shanbei division has established 2 new second-class divisions, and they have yet to appoint a hall master or vice hall master. If you can atone for your crimes with good deeds, you will be demoted to the Shanbei division and become a hall master. Zhang Mengguang felt as if he had been granted amnesty and no longer hesitated. Although I'm also a member of the Zhang family, I've been separated from Zhang Dingyi and the rest for more than 10 generations. Most of the people who benefit from the Zhang family are from their bloodline. Before me, my bloodline hasn't produced a golden core cultivator for 6 or 7 generations. I've cultivated to this point all by myself. I didn't get any help from the Zhang family. But just because my surname is Zhang, I have to be controlled by Zhang Dingming. Otherwise, I'll be suppressed by the Zhang family. My life is worse than a non-direct elder's. I've been the chief steward of the finance hall for many years, but I don't have any real power. The spirit stones that go in and out of the finance hall don't go through my hands. Only the account books go through my hands. I've long known that they do this so that when something happens they can use me as a scapegoat. Zhang Dingming snorted coldly. You say that Zhang Dingyi embezzled your salary. Do you have any evidence? Zhang Mengguang wasn't afraid of anything. He directly retorted, as the chief steward of the finance hall, I only have the authority to pass through. If it wasn't Zhang Dingyi who embezzled your salary, who else could it be? Don't tell me it was you? At this point, it was impossible for the Zhang family to completely get away with it. Someone had to block the disaster. Zhang Dingming also knew that the Wang family and the Su family were bent on destroying the Zhang family. Now he could only delay this matter for now so that he had time to exchange benefits. Zhang Dingming put on a righteous appearance. Now Zhang Dingyi is indeed the most suspicious. But it's only a suspicion and there's no evidence. As the great elder, if he really did this, I definitely won't be biased. Shadow Master, please take Zhang Dingyi into custody first and then thoroughly investigate this matter. It was a bit difficult to find evidence rashly. Wang Daoyuan's previous plan was to first create momentum and then gradually reveal Zhang Dingyi's dark secrets. There wasn't much meaning in killing a Zhang Dingyi. The most important thing was to use Zhang Dingyi to destroy Zhang Dingming's prestige and split the Zhang family faction. This was the first time he made a move and made Zhang Mengguang and Zhang Dingming fall out. It was already an unexpected gain. Zhou Wan nodded. There's indeed no ironclad evidence now. However, I'll definitely investigate this matter to the end. The losses of the lower and middle disciples will also be compensated after recovering the stolen money. Punishment Elder, lock up Zhang Dingyi first. There can't be any mishaps. Zhang Mengguang will temporarily manage the finance hall's affairs. After investigating the matter thoroughly, we'll deal with it. Punishment Hall will send people to protect Zhang Mengguang's family. The disciples who wanted to snatch the account book today also had their reasons. We won't punish them. Everyone disperse. Su Qingchuan cupped his hands and said, "This subordinate obeys." Finished speaking, he ordered people to remove the torture tools from Zhang Mengguang's body and led a group of Punishment Hall disciples to capture Zhang Dingyi. The other disciples were already prepared to be punished. They didn't expect to be able to escape unscathed and also dispersed. Previously, these elders were still arguing about the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce. Now that something major happened, no one had the mood to do so. Zhou Wan also directly returned to the Zhou family's small courtyard. She opened the small courtyard's array formation and laughed wildly. Zhang Dingming finally suffered a loss this time. He was actually angered to the point of directly attacking Zhang Mengguang. His all-out attack was easily resolved by you. Can be considered to have suppressed him. Wang Daoyuan was currently sitting at the stone table drinking tea. Putting down the teacup, he said with a smile, "Today's harvest is too great, far exceeding my expectations. Originally, I just wanted to create momentum and provoke the anger of the lower and middle disciples towards Zhang Dingyi. But I didn't expect that this guy usually committed too many evil deeds, directly causing the people's resentment to boil. Now that Zhang Dingyi has been taken down, the Zhang family can't control the finance hall anymore. Punishment Hall is the Su family's head. It listens to us in the first place. The two most important halls are both under your command. Zhang Dingming's power is greatly weakened. Furthermore, Zhang Mengguang defected to us. It can also be considered a split in the Zhang family faction. As long as we properly deal with Zhang Mengguang's family, more people from the Zhang family faction will come to join us in the future." Zhou Wan asked, "Then what should we do next?" Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "We don't have to do anything. The more we do, the more mistakes we will make. The ones who should be anxious now are the Zhang family." Su Qingchuan was an expert in fanning the flames. He knew what to do next. The current situation is extremely unfavorable for the Zhang family. The Su family can completely destroy Zhang Dingyi with the Zhang family's black material in their hands. Lord Shadow Master, you just have to sit still and watch the situation change. At this time, in a blacksmithing workshop outside Blood Shadow City, a few blacksmiths were forging tool embryos. A tall cultivator among them said, "Have you heard? Those bastards from the finance hall have finally been dealt with." A cultivator wielding a sledgehammer next to him said, "How can we not hear?" Even the Shadow Master came out personally. He also promised to investigate the matter thoroughly and recover the stolen money. After that, he will pay back the salary that was previously deducted. That bastard Zhang Dingyi is really a bastard. I haven't received a regular salary for more than 10 years. Last month, I only received 40% of my salary. Hopefully we can kill Zhang Dingyi this time and bring justice to the lower and middle disciples. Chapter 9:15. Under the Su family's manipulation, the news that Zhang Dingyi had embezzled more than 30 million mid-grade spirit stones in the past 10 years quickly spread throughout the Blood Shadow headquarters. He had been the finance elder for more than 200 years. In these 200 years he had probably embezzled a few 100 million mid-grade spirit stones. These spirit stones should have been distributed to the lower and middle-class disciples, but now they were all in Zhang Dingyi's pocket. The Su family had also grasped the situation very well. Punishment Hall released a big piece of news every day. For example, they had found a certain account book and embezzled tens of millions of spirit stones. Or they had found a certain accountant and confessed that Zhang Dingyi had forced them to do the accounts. Half a month later, the entire Blood Shadow headquarters was in an uproar. Even the various branches had begun to send letters, demanding that Zhang Dingyi be severely punished. After all, the various branches' contribution points and resources had to be exchanged through the finance hall. With Zhang Dingyi's character of passing an egg lightly, if he dared to embezzle the salaries of the headquarters disciples, there was no need to talk about the branch halls. Now they had found a few accountants as witnesses and dug out quite a few account books. After investigating Zhang Dingyi's assets, the amount was shocking. According to the news released by Punishment Hall, Zhang Dingyi's assets were worth more than 200 million mid-grade spirit stones. Although they hadn't found the accounts of Zhang Dingyi's personal assets, the evidence and witnesses pointed to him. In the meeting hall, Zhou Xian sat high up on the main seat and asked, "Punishment Elder, how is the investigation of Zhang Dingyi's matter?" Su Qingchuan took out a dozen or so beastskin books. Reporting to Shadow Lord, these are the results of the investigation and the testimonies of the various accountants in the finance hall. All of the accountants said that Zhang Dingyi was the one who ordered them to do this. Moreover, most of the assets under Zhang Dingyi's name were acquired within the past 200 years. Zhou Xian roughly looked through the beastskin books and asked, "Elders, what do you think?" An elder of the Su family said, "The evidence is conclusive and we can already convict him. There aren't many people in the Blood Shadow headquarters who can bypass the finance hall's chief steward and embezzle disciples' salaries. Only Zhang Dingyi, the first, second and third elders can do it. The earliest account book was from 200 years ago. At that time the second elder was still the head of the Su family. In recent decades it was Elder Zhang. The third elder had been changed twice in the middle, and during this process the deduction of his salary did not stop. Only Zhang Dingyi and the first elder can bypass Zhang Mengguang." Hearing this, Zhang Dingming's face turned red with anger. The mastermind behind this is either Zhang Dingyi or you, Zhang Dingming. You can choose who is the unlucky one. Zhou Xian added, "Don't spout nonsense. The great elder has been in charge of Blood Shadow for hundreds of years. Why would he do such a thing?" The Su family elder immediately said, "This subordinate misspoke. Please don't take offense, great elder." At this moment, Elder Han, who had always been known for his impartiality, also opened his mouth and said, "As the finance elder, Zhang Dingyi's salary was docked by several 100 million spirit stones. Regardless of whether he did it or not, he would be sentenced to death. In addition, all the witnesses and evidence point to him. We can already convict him." Zhang Dingyi had coveted such a large amount of spirit stones, it was impossible for him to be the only one benefiting. The other elders of the Zhang family faction could more or less get a share. If Zhang Dingyi was convicted, it would be troublesome if a few more people came forward. An elder of the Zhang family faction said, "Shadow Master, although there is a lot of evidence now, there is no solid evidence to prove the specific source of Zhang Dingyi's wealth. As everyone knows, Zhang Dingyi has been extremely favored in the Zhang family since he was young. When the previous patriarch of the Zhang family was still alive, he could say that he could have anything he wanted. It is normal for him to have some wealth in his hands. With the wealth of the Zhang family for tens of thousands of years, it is not difficult for them to take out several 100 million spirit stones, right?" These words were a bit shameless. Who knew where Zhang Dingyi's account book went? If the Zhang family wanted to hide the account book, it was a simple matter. Elder Han was about to refute when Su Qinghe hurriedly said, "This elder's words are reasonable. We can't rush to convict him. Perhaps Zhang Dingyi was also instructed by someone and is now being thrown out as a scapegoat. For such a big case, it is better to have solid evidence." Su Qinghe's words were hinting at the first elder. How could brothers who were extremely close not have some financial dealings with each other? As long as they could find a little bit of evidence, they could drag the first elder down as well. The best choice for the Zhang family now was to draw a clear line with Zhang Dingyi. Give up on Zhang Dingyi and protect the Zhang family. Since the Zhang family was not clear, they would draw the fire onto the Zhang family. Hearing Su Qinghe's words, Zhang Dingming also reacted and knew that this matter was directed at him. However, he could not say anything now. If he pleaded for his brother, he would not be able to distinguish between public and private matters. If he asked for his brother to be severely punished, he would be throwing away the rook to save the king. At this time, avoiding suspicion and staying silent was the best choice. Zhou Xian nodded. In that case, continue the investigation. Punishment Elder Su Qingchuan cupped his hands and said, "This subordinate obeys." Soon there was the sound of wind outside again. The Shadow Master and the other elders wanted to convict Zhang Dingyi, but the Zhang family protected Zhang Dingyi. Once the news spread, the fire burned onto the Zhang family. As the head of the Zhang family, Zhang Dingming naturally could not stay out of it. North of Blood Shadow City, in a large forest, more than 20 Foundation establishment cultivators were chopping third-grade spiritual trees. These spiritual trees were extremely hard. Even with magic tools that specialized in chopping spiritual trees, these cultivators could not hold on for too long. After chopping for an hour, they had to rest for a while. During rest, it was inevitable that they would chat. A skinny cultivator was gasping for breath. A sturdy cultivator next to him laughed and said, "Brother Xing, your body is not good. It's only been an hour and you're already panting like this. You and sister-in-law should control yourselves. Don't ruin your bodies." As soon as this was said, the other cultivators who were resting also laughed. The thin cultivator's face was red. "Don't talk nonsense. Who has the mood to do that now? I don't have any skills and I'm not good at fighting. After working hard for a month, I only get a salary of 200 low-grade spirit stones. More than half of it is deducted, so I only get 70 to 80 spirit stones. My wife is pregnant and needs spiritual items to nourish her body. Only then will she have a higher chance of giving birth to a child with spiritual roots. My eldest son is already 10 years old and tested to have 3 spiritual roots. His main spiritual root is more than 7 inches long, much stronger than mine. In the future, he has hoped to enter the Blood Wolf sect and get a steward position. He can even be sent to a branch and become a hall master. With this talent, he naturally needs to nourish his body with spiritual items from a young age. All my salary is used to buy spiritual items for my wife and son. I can't even bear to eat spiritual grains. The sturdy man advised, "Brother Xing, you can't be like this. Doing this kind of work consumes a lot of qi and blood. If we don't have spiritual items to replenish our qi, our bodies will quickly collapse." The thin cultivator sighed. "I also want to eat something good, but do I have so many spirit stones? I don't have any hope in this life. As long as my children and grandchildren can live good lives, I don't mind working a little hard. Zhang Dingyi, that damned bastard, deducted more than half of our salary. If I can get 200 spirit stones, I can also eat some spiritual items." The sturdy cultivator also sighed. "This matter is already an ironclad case. If we deal with Zhang Dingyi, we'll have more money on hand." But I didn't expect that the Zhang family would insist on protecting Zhang Dingyi, saying that there is no evidence. The Zhang family is powerful and Zhang Dingming is the first elder. Shadow Master doesn't dare to disrespect him. He can only continue to look for evidence, so this matter is delayed. I originally thought that the first elder was quite fair, but now it seems that he's not a good person. Zhang Dingyi is the first elder's younger brother. He embezzled hundreds of millions of mid-grade spirit stones. How can the Zhang family, including the first elder, not benefit? The Zhang family has already benefited, and now Zhang Dingyi is already in a situation where he will undoubtedly die. If they dare not save him, Zhang Dingyi will expose them, and the entire Zhang family won't be able to escape. The Zhang family has a foundation of tens of thousands of years, but I don't know if Lord Shadow Master can touch them. Chapter 9:16. The few of them sighed, but there was nothing they could do. If they went to the conference hall to make a request, they might be killed before they could even speak. It wasn't common for the people from the treasury hall to be able to escape unscathed after stealing the account books. They all had wives and children at home and no one wanted to throw their lives away. Such scenes played out all over the Blood Shadow headquarters. Everyone was looking forward to killing Zhang Dingyi as soon as possible. Moreover, most people felt that Zhang Dingyi wasn't the only one who had embezzled their salaries. The Zhang clan and Zhang Dingming were also involved. Such an evil person was actually able to hold the position of finance elder for 200 years. Even if the Grand Elder didn't participate in the distribution of spirit stones, how could he not know that his younger brother had done such a thing? Thus, the Grand Elder was either in cahoots with him or covering for him. No matter what, he wasn't qualified to be the Grand Elder. The Su clan didn't mind the commotion and weren't anxious at all. Su Qingxuan and Su Qinghui, on the other hand, were patient enough to look for evidence. They wanted to dig up all of Zhang Dingyi's assets and study every single stone carefully. The Treasury Hall also temporarily stopped receiving their salaries with the excuse that the treasury was empty. The middle and lower-ranked disciples could still wait and watch the commotion. Now that they weren't receiving their salaries, how were they going to feed their families? After more than a month of torment at the punishment hall, the middle and lower-ranked disciples couldn't hold on any longer. Many Violet Palace Realm and Foundation Establishment Realm disciples stopped working and gathered outside the Treasury Hall. As more and more people gathered, it would cause a huge commotion if they weren't careful. The punishment hall was controlled by the Su clan. They just waited to watch the commotion and didn't care about these matters. After a long time, someone who wasn't afraid of death finally stood out from the crowd. This person was thin and small and his face was pale. He was severely lacking in qi and blood. He was the cultivator surnamed Zheng, who was cutting down spirit trees in a forest north of Blood Shadow City. He walked to the entrance of the Treasury Hall and shouted, "When will you receive your salaries? My family has already run out of food. I can handle it myself, but my child has just started on the path of cultivation and my wife is pregnant. They can't handle it. If I don't receive my salary today, my wife and child will starve to death. There's no point in me living. If worse comes to worst, I'll fight with my life on the line. Even if I can't snatch the item, I'll still splash my blood all over you." A manager walked out of the Hall of Treasures. "What's the use of you shouting at the entrance of the Hall of Treasures?" Zhang Dingyi had embezzled several 100 million mid-grade spirit stones, and the treasury of the Treasury Hall was also in deficit. "If I don't take him down, how can I give you spirit stones? As a steward, I'm the same as you. I haven't eaten any phase for a month. My wife and children can only rely on the weeds in the courtyard to survive." Someone in the crowd shouted, "Brothers, since the Treasury Hall can't give out the spirit stones, let's go to the conference hall to see the Shadow Master. I beg her to kill Zhang Dingyi and make the Zhang clan spit out the spirit stones that they embezzled from us." The thousands of people present were already filled with resentment. They wanted nothing more than to tear the Zhang family apart. As soon as someone instigated them, the anger that had been suppressed in their hearts for many years erupted, and they all roared as they rushed toward the conference hall. The thin and small cultivator surnamed Xing was at the very front, but he was stopped by the guards in front of the main hall. He shouted inside, "Shadow Master, we already have no way to survive. I beg the Shadow Master to be merciful and let us have a bite to eat to feed our families." Soon, thousands of people gathered outside the conference hall. Among them, there were dozens of people shouting toward the conference hall. The conference hall was protected by a formation. No matter how noisy it was outside, no sound could be transmitted inside. However, there were guards who could send messages. These guards were also arranged by Su Qinghe. Now that the matter had escalated, it was time to close the net. One of the guards walked into the conference hall and cupped his hands toward Zhou Xian, reporting to the Shadow Master, "Thousands of people have gathered outside the conference hall. Some people's families can't even open the pot. If there's no food, their families will starve to death. They want to kill Zhang Dingyi and make the Zhang clan return their hard-earned money." Some people even said, "What did they say?" They said that they want to risk it all before they die. Even if they can't kill the Zhang clan, they want to splash the Zhang clan with their blood. Zhang Dingming's face darkened, but he didn't dare to say anything. Zhou Xian sighed. If they still had a mouthful of food, they wouldn't have come to this. "Let's go and meet these low-level cultivators." After saying that, the group walked out of the conference hall. When the cultivators outside the conference hall saw Zhou Xian come out, they all knelt down and begged, "Shadow Master, please give us a way out. There are no more spirit stones in the conference hall of finance. If we can't withdraw the spirit stones, our families will starve to death." Someone shouted, "Zhang Dingyi embezzled our hard-earned money. This kind of person deserves to die 10,000 times. He should be killed immediately." There were also some more extreme people who shouted that they wanted to exterminate Zhang Dingyi's entire family. Zhou Xian said loudly, Disciples, please calm down first. I'm also from the lower middle level of the Blood Shadow sect. I also know about your suffering. However, the case hasn't been solved yet. We can't rashly kill people. If there's really no food, I still have some private wealth here. I'll give it to you first. We'll talk about it after we get through the current crisis. Someone in the crowd immediately shouted, Shadow Master, we know that you're good to us. Otherwise you wouldn't have investigated that bastard Zhang Dingy. The Zhang clan must have used their power to bully Shadow Master. This person should have been sent by the Su clan. His words successfully drew everyone's anger to the Zhang clan. At this moment another person shouted, I've been wronged. Shadow Master, please redress my grievances. This person was a middle-aged man whose cultivation had reached the middle stage of the Zifu realm. What grievances do you have? Don't hesitate to speak. The middle-aged man said, I'm called Zeng Chou. My father, Zeng Rong, was the vice hall master of the Xin nation's Jinshan branch. That year, when that bastard Zhang Dingy was the hall master of the Jinshan branch, he saw that my older sister was beautiful and forcefully took her back. My father went to save my older sister and had a conflict with him. He didn't have the confidence to defeat my father, so he let my older sister go. However, that bastard harbored hatred in his heart and led others to slaughter my entire family of more than 30 people. If it wasn't for someone saving me, I probably wouldn't have lived to this day. Fortunately, the heavens had eyes and exposed that bastard's evil deeds. I only dared to report him because Lord Shadow Master personally asked about it. I still have the image recording pearl left behind by the person who saved me. This was the orphan that Su Qinghe had mentioned before. He also had proof that Zhang Dingy had slaughtered his entire family. The deputy hall master of a first-grade branch of the Blood Shadow branch had the same status as an elder without any duties. Even the grand elder couldn't kill someone without reason, let alone a mere hall master. Furthermore, Zhang Dingy had slaughtered his entire family. The deputy hall master of a first-grade branch required the unanimous agreement of the grand elder, second elder and third elder. A deputy hall master was gone just like that, and there wasn't even the slightest bit of news about it. Clearly, someone from the headquarters had suppressed this matter. Suppressing such a matter was a capital offense. Once the matter was investigated, a large number of elders would be implicated. This move could be said to be a trump card. As long as it was verified, the Zhang clan would suffer greatly. As soon as this was said, more than 10 people cried out for their grievances. Some accused Zhang Dingy of murder and robbery, while others accused him of stealing someone's wife and daughter. Punishment Elder, go investigate this matter. Elder Han, Elder Chao and Elder Wu, the three of you go supervise the trial. The four of them cupped their hands in acknowledgement, then brought these people to the punishment hall to investigate. Afterward he called the head steward of the finance hall Zhang Mengguang over. I remember that there are some treasure-guarding spirit stones in the sect's treasury. They're used for emergencies. Right now Blood Shadow isn't in any danger. Take out a portion of the treasure-guarding spirit stones for these disciples. Zhang Mengguang hurriedly said, Shadow Master, you mustn't do that. These treasure-guarding spirit stones are related to Blood Shadow's foundation. If there's an accident and there's no spirit stones to use, the sect's foundation might be lost. The treasure-guarding spirit stones are related to Blood Shadow's foundation, but the disciples aren't? These disciples have contributed so much to the sect, but now they've reached the point where they don't even have enough to eat. If these disciples are bitterly disappointed, who would be willing to work for Blood Shadow in the future? As long as the hearts of the people are still there, what are spirit stones? Chapter 9:17. Any large faction would prepare some treasure-guarding spirit stones, and the Yen Kingdom naturally had them as well. These treasure-guarding spirit stones were mainly high-grade spirit stones, with a small amount of mid-grade spirit stones. To put it bluntly, treasure-guarding spirit stones were wartime reserves. Once attacked by external enemies, the sect would be surrounded and isolated from the outside world. These treasure-guarding spirit stones could only be used to maintain the mountain-protecting formation, quickly recover spirit power, and drive flying warships and puppets. Its importance was self-evident. Unless a faction was at the end of its rope, it wouldn't easily use treasure-guarding spirit stones. Zhou Wan took out the treasure-guarding spirit stones. Zhou Ji was a low-level disciple who didn't have enough to eat. If this matter spread, her prestige in the Blood Shadow sect would definitely rise greatly. These low-level disciples were naturally grateful and kowtowed to express their gratitude. The cultivator surnamed Jing was even more grateful. "Thank you, Shadow Lord, for saving my family's life." She gave a token to Zhang Mengguang. "This is the token you need to use the treasure-guarding spirit stones in the 5th secret storehouse." Zhang Mengguang said, "Shadow Lord has decided to use the treasure-guarding spirit stones to pay your salaries. Wait in front of the treasury hall. I'll go get the spirit stones now." With that, he left and went to the Blood Shadow sect's storehouse to get the spirit stones. The cultivators in front of the conference hall also left and went to the treasury hall to wait. Zhou Xian and the elders returned to the conference hall to wait for the results of the trial in the punishment hall. Half a day later, Su Qingchuan and the other elders brought the cultivators who were crying for justice to the conference hall. Su Qingchuan took out a few beeskin books and a transparent bead and handed them to Zhou Xian through Zhang Yu. "Shadow Lord, the matter of Xingqiu reporting Zhang Dingyi's extermination has been investigated. With the image recording bead as evidence, Zhang Dingyi did indeed exterminate Xingqiu's entire family. The other cultivators didn't have enough evidence, and Zhang Dingyi refused to admit his guilt." Elder Han said, "Elder Chao, Elder Wu and I have been listening in on Xingqiu's trial. In the image recording bead, Zhang Dingyi revealed his true appearance. With the image recording bead, he didn't argue and admitted to exterminating Xingqiu's entire family." Elder Wu added, "In the image recording pearl, Zhang Dingyi was at a disadvantage when he fought with Tseng Rong. In the end, he used the Zhang family's unique technique, the Serious Soul Extinguishing Technique. This spell was the Zhang family's patriarch's unique skill. Outsiders had no way of obtaining it. As far as I know, this Serious Soul Extinction Technique is extremely difficult to cultivate. Even the Great Elder had only scratched the surface. In the Zhang clan, only Zhang Dingyi can use this spell to kill enemies above his level." Elder Wu's name was Wu Jun, and he was the younger brother of Blood Shadow supervisor Wu Xiang. His talent was not as good as Wu Xiang's, but it was not too bad. Furthermore, he was upright and had a good reputation. However, due to his lack of experience, he was only an elder without any duties for the time being. Zhou Xian flipped through a few beeskin books and injected spiritual energy into the image recording pearl. The transparent bead emitted streams of light, forming a screen of light. On the screen, a young man and a middle-aged man were fighting. The middle-aged man was stronger and had been suppressing the young man. Seeing that the young man was about to be defeated, a black aura emanated from his body. This black aura condensed into black wolves that surrounded the middle-aged man. The black fog dispersed and the middle-aged man died an unnatural death. After Zhou Xian saw this, she asked coldly, "Great Elder, is the young man in this image recording pearl Zhang Dingyi? Is the spell he used your Zhang clan's Serious Soul Extinction Technique?" Zhang Dingming sighed. "It is indeed the Serious Soul Extinction Technique. It is indeed Zhang Dingyi. It is one thing for this evil creature to be greedy and lustful, but he actually dared to commit such a heinous crime." Su Qingchuan sneered. "Zhang Dingyi has already been brought to the meeting hall. If you want to scold him, I will bring him in now." Zhang Dingming's expression changed greatly. Zhang Dingyi was already dead for sure. No one could save him. Now that they met, he was likely to accuse him. Before he could speak, Zhou Xian said, "Bring Zhang Dingyi in." Su Qingchuan looked at Zhang Dingming provocatively, then turned and walked out of the hall. Afterwards, he carried a middle-aged man back to the hall. This man was shackled and shackled. These torture tools were all made of 4th-level upper-grade metal materials. Even with Zhang Dingyi's peak Jindan realm cultivation, he was suppressed to the point that he couldn't use any strength. Now his hair was disheveled and his clothes were dirty and messy. He didn't look like a cultivator at all. But at this time, his eyes still revealed a look of contempt for all living beings. Before Zhou Xian could ask, Zhang Dingming scolded, "You evil creature, it is one thing for you to be greedy and lustful, but you even did something like exterminating the deputy hall master's family." Without waiting for him to finish, Zhang Dingyi retorted sarcastically, "Which cultivator hasn't killed many people before? Zhang Dingming, is your ass so clean? I am better than you in everything. You are older than me, so all the benefits are yours. It is the same for breaking the elixir and forming the nascent soul. I am more talented than you and younger than you. Why should I leave my inherited magic weapon to you?" Now you still have the face to pretend to be a good person in front of me. I docked your salary and misappropriated the spirit stones in the treasury of the finance hall. You also took a lot. Exterminating Zheng Rong's family, wasn't it also? Before he finished speaking, Zhang Dingming shouted, "Evil creature, you are courting death. Today I will clean up the Zhang family." As he spoke, he slapped Zhang Dingyi's head. He was an early Yuanying realm cultivator. Killing a peak Jindan realm cultivator was a piece of cake. Zhang Dingyi bled from his 7 orifices and died. Zhou Wan didn't expect him to be so decisive. She didn't even have time to stop him. "Grand Elder, what is the meaning of this? Could it be that you want to silence him?" Zhang Dingming hurriedly bowed. "Before my late father passed away, he entrusted this evil creature to me. I have been busy with official business all these years and have been controlling him. I didn't expect him to commit such a heinous crime. When I heard this evil creature admit to his crime, I only felt righteous indignation. I didn't stop. Please punish me, Shadow Master." Zhou Wan snorted coldly. "We can talk about your punishment later. Right now we have to deal with the mess Zhang Dingyi left behind." "Punishment, Elder. How much did Zhang Dingyi embezzle from his salary and embezzle spirit stones from the treasury?" Su Qingchuan replied, "According to the evidence we have, Zhang Dingyi embezzled from his salary and embezzled spirit stones and other resources from the treasury. The total is more than 780 million mid-grade spirit stones. The total wealth under Zhang Dingyi's name is only about 400 million mid-grade spirit stones. We haven't been able to find the remaining spirit stones." Zhou Wan glanced at Zhang Dingming. She was giving him a hint. It would be up to the Zhang clan to decide whether to pursue this matter to the end and exterminate them or to stop while they were ahead and leave them some face. Zhang Dingming had been the Grand Elder for several hundred years. He was no fool. "Lord Shadow Master, the Treasury Hall's deficit is Zhang Dingyi's fault. He's my younger brother. I can't just stand by and do nothing. The Zhang family is willing to pay 400 million mid-grade spirit stones to make up for this deficit. In addition, the Zhang family is also willing to compensate the people who have been harmed by this bastard." Su Qinghe said sarcastically from the side, "Grand Elder is so bold. You can be so decisive even after losing an arm. You took out 400 million mid-grade spirit stones just like that. My Su family's foundation is still too shallow. I really can't take out so many spirit stones." Zhang Dingming was so angry that his teeth itched, but he didn't dare to say anything. According to Wang Daoyuan's plan, they would first attack Zhang Dingming's prestige and divide the Zhang family. If they were forced into a corner now, the Zhang family would be driven to desperation. Blood Shadow would probably fall into chaos. Zhang Dingyi's matter was already more than enough to complete the mission. The Zhang family's foundation was damaged, and Zhang Dingming even had the reputation of being a murderer. His prestige was completely gone. Without his prestige, the Zhang family's status would plummet. Many people would find a way out and the Zhang family would slowly collapse. Therefore it was better to let the Zhang family go first. Zhou Wan nodded. "Then I'll give Grand Elder face and won't pursue Zhang Dingyi's matter any further. The Zhang family will compensate the Treasury Hall and the victims' losses." Chapter 9:18. Killing an elder in public in the meeting hall was something that Blood Shadow had never encountered in tens of thousands of years. After all, although the Zhang clan and Su clan had fought openly and covertly in the past, their strength was about the same. No one had the confidence to take down the other. They had only fought on a small scale, so it was the first time that the other second-in-command had been dragged down. Su Qinghe asked, "Shadow Master, how should we deal with this sinner's corpse? How did you deal with such situations in the past?" Su Qinghe answered, "In the past there were elders who committed all kinds of evil, and they were all executed in public outside the south gate of Blood Shadow City. Those who committed the most heinous crimes and stirred up the crowd's emotions would have their corpses displayed outside the city." Zhou Wan nodded. "Let's do it according to the rules and leave it to the punishment hall. The most important thing now is to make up for the lost assets and compensate for the losses of the disciples." All the elders agreed. Zhou Wan left the meeting hall and walked towards the Zhou clan's small courtyard. After entering the courtyard, she activated the formation and laughed. "Zhang Dingming, that old fellow, has finally suffered a loss. Zhang Dingyi said that he gave a lot of the spirit stones he stole to the Zhang clan, and Zhang Dingming took a lot. He was about to say that it was Zhang Dingming who helped to suppress the news of Zhengqiu's entire clan. I didn't expect this old fellow to be so decisive and kill Zhang Dingy in the meeting hall with one palm. He even promised to return the spirit stones to the treasury in exchange for us not to kill them all. According to the sect rules, Zhang Dingy's corpse should be displayed outside the city. Wang Daoyuan smiled. I didn't expect that the first step would have such a good effect. The Zhang clan losing control of the finance hall is like losing an arm. Zhang Mingguang's betrayal can be considered a split in the Zhang clan. Now that he killed Zhang Dingy with his own hands, he doesn't have any prestige left. The Su clan will definitely direct the anger of the Blood Shadow disciples to the Zhang clan and Zhang Dingming when Zhang Dingy's corpse is displayed. Now the Zhang clan is half crippled. Zhang Dingming won't dare to be arrogant in front of you anymore. What should we do next? We can't just let Zhang Dingming go like this, right? Wang Daoyuan thought for a while and asked, does Blood Shadow have a Grand Elder? Yes, but there haven't been any Yuanian cultivators in the past 10,000 years, so there are very few Grand Supreme Elders. Their authority is about the same as the Grand Elders of other forces. They don't care about daily affairs, but they can still make decisions on important matters. Then does the Grand Elder have more power than the Shadow Lord? Of course not. The Shadow Master's authority is supreme. If I wasn't worried about the negative impact, I could make any decision on my own. The Grand Elder's position was only the highest when there was no Shadow Lord. Moreover, when making a decision he can't bypass the First Elder. He's far worse than the Shadow Lord. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, then let him be the Grand Elder. Zhou Luan subconsciously objected, how can that be? Isn't this helping him raise his status? Wang Daoyuan lightly knocked on Imperial Court's head. You've been smart all your life, but now you're stupid. The Grand Elder only has the authority to make decisions on important matters. You, the Shadow Lord, can't use him. The Grand Elder also doesn't have the authority to manage personnel. This is making him a mere figurehead. Before he finished speaking, he felt his legs being hugged. He looked down and saw the two little guys, Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian. Wang Mingxian said, you're not allowed to bully Mother. Wang Mingren was still holding his peachwood sword. If you bully Mother again, I'll help Mother beat you. Zhou Luan was full of smiles. You have a conscience and know how to help your mother. You two continue to cultivate. We're not fighting. We're just joking. Only then did the two little guys let go of Wang Daoyuan's legs and go back to their own business. Zhou Luan continued, then we'll do as you said. Let Zhang Dingming be the Grand Supreme Elder. In the future he won't have the authority to manage the affairs of the Blood Shadow and can only be a decoration. If we do this, the Grand Elder will be vacant and the Treasury Hall will also be short of manpower. Who will take over? Arranging personnel was also a skill that involved the balance of the various factions. However, the Su family's attention was mainly on the Yan Kingdom, so there was no need to give the Su family any high positions. After all, the Su family now controlled the punishment hall. If they were given a high position, it would be difficult to get rid of them. The Grand Elder will naturally be Zhang Yu. Su Qinghe will be the second elder. It's better to let Chao Jing fill in for the third elder. Chao Jing used to be in charge of the mines. His original position will be taken over by a member of the Su family. As for the Treasury Hall, let Zhang Mingguang be the elder of the Treasury. He doesn't have the support of the Zhang family now, but his surname is Zhang, so others will alienate him. If he wants to survive, he can only rely on you, the Shadow Lord. This kind of lonely official is the best confidant. Wu Jun will be the Grand Chief. This is also a sign of goodwill to the Wu family. I hope Wu Xiang, the Blood Wolf's chief, can express his goodwill. Zhou Luan nodded her head in satisfaction. If that's the case, the three elders who have decision-making power are all our people. The Punishment Hall and the Treasury Hall, the two most important institutions, also listen to me. The Zhang family is just a figurehead? Wang Daoyuan shook his head. It's not that easy. The upper level is a figurehead, but the Zhang family has a foundation of tens of thousands of years. There are many members of the Zhang family in each branch. Even at the Blood Shadow headquarters, the ones in charge of the forest and pills are still members of the Zhang family. This time the Zhang family has suffered heavy losses. Don't be in a hurry to continue. Otherwise, if we push Zhang Dingming too far, there will be a big problem. If we exert a little pressure on the Zhang family, the non-direct descendants of the Zhang family will have other ideas. Zhang family members like Zhang Mingguang, who are bullied by the Zhang family's direct descendants, will probably have other ideas. When the Zhang family's internal conflicts erupt, we'll pull them in and beat them up. A Zhang Dingming with no real power can no longer control the Zhang family. In terms of treachery and cunning, I'm far inferior to you. We'll do as you say. I want to see what kind of expression Zhang Dingming will have when the time comes. Half a month later, the compensation from the Zhang family arrived, and the investigation of the punishment hall was more or less finished. Zhou Xian came to the conference hall and summoned all the elders in the headquarters who were free for a meeting. The upper level of Blood Shadow had undergone a huge change. Now most of the troublesome matters had been dealt with. The next step was to adjust personnel. In other words, the Zhang family would cut the meat while the Su family and the non-direct descendants would eat the meat. At a time like this, naturally, everyone was eager to participate. All the Golden Core elders in Blood Shadow, regardless of their seniority or power, came to the conference hall. Zhou Xian didn't beat around the bush. Zhang Dingy embezzled his salary, misappropriated the spirit stones in the treasury, and even wiped out the entire family of the Gold Mountain Branch's deputy hall master. This matter involves a lot of people, but I don't plan to pursue it. Zhang Dingming was the Grand Elder and Zhang Dingy's eldest brother, but he failed to stop it in time. This is a big mistake both publicly and privately. Although Zhang Dingy was guilty, Zhang Dingming killed him in the conference hall before the investigation was completed. As for how to deal with this matter, please discuss it together. Su Qinghe immediately said. Before Lord Shadow Master returned to the headquarters, the Grand Elder had been in charge of Blood Shadow's affairs for several hundred years. He was responsible for the things that Zhang Dingy did. Although Zhang Dingy was a criminal, the Grand Elder killed him before all of his crimes were investigated. This is also a big mistake and should be punished severely. Elder Han was more upright. According to Blood Shadow's rules, the Grand Elder was unjust and incompetent in his supervision. He should be removed from his position. He should only retain the status of an elder with no duties and no longer be in charge of any affairs. As for killing Zhang Dingy, it can be a big or small matter. If he killed someone to silence them, then he should be killed. If he killed someone for Blood Shadow, his methods were too extreme and he should be demoted. As for how to deal with this matter, it will be up to Shadow Master. As soon as he said this, all the elders agreed. Zhou Xian waved her hand, and the elders immediately quieted down. The Grand Elder has been in charge of Blood Shadow's affairs for several hundred years. Although he was in the wrong, we should leave him some face. Chapter 9:19. The elders looked at each other in dismay. They didn't know how Zhou Xian wanted to deal with Zhang Dingming. Even Su Qinghe didn't continue the conversation. Zhou Xian continued, Grand Elder is already a Yuanying cultivator. The 4 top powers already have 4 or 5 Yuanying cultivators. Even the state of Qin and the state of Zhao, which had been restored after its destruction, had 2 nascent soul cultivators. As for the other 2nd and 3rd tier nations, many of them also have Yuanying cultivators. Blood Shadow only has 2 Yuanying cultivators. They're already weaker than Zhou, but are they weaker than Qin and Zhao? We haven't had a Grand Elder for thousands of years. How about we let the Grand Elder take on the role of Grand Elder? If Zhang Dingming could take on the role of Grand Elder, the Zhang clan would have a chance at survival. The elders of the Zhang clan faction naturally agreed. The elders of the Su clan and Zhang Yu all supported Zhou Xian unconditionally. Naturally, they also agreed. The neutral elders were the ones who truly cared about Blood Shadow. This suggestion was very beneficial to Blood Shadow, so they naturally had no objections. Thus, everyone called out in unison, Shadow Lord is wise. Zhang Dingming was a bit surprised. So many people actually agreed to let him take on the role of Grand Elder. Since the elders have no objections, Zhang Dingming will accept the title. Zhang Dingming stood up and cupped his hands towards Zhou Xian. Zhang Dingming is present. Although you made a grave mistake this time, in consideration of your great contributions and Blood Shadow's need for manpower, I will make you a Grand Elder. However, while you can avoid death, you can't escape punishment. From now on, you will focus on cultivation and will not manage any affairs. Zhang Dingming bowed. Thank you for your kindness, Shadow Lord. Zhou Xian continued. In 10 days, we will hold a ceremony to make you a Grand Elder in front of the Ancestral Hall. Grand Elder will be promoted to Grand Elder. The original Finance Elder Zhang Dingyi has died. Who do you think is suitable to take over? Elder Han replied, according to Blood Shadow's rules, when the first elder leaves or passes away, the second elder should take over. The third elder will continue to take over the position of the second elder, and another elder with real power will take over the position of the third elder. Zhou Xian nodded. In that case, second elder Zhang Yu will take over as Grand Elder, and third elder Su Qinghe will take over as second elder. As for the third elder, Elder Chao Jing would take over. Elder Chao had been an elder of the mine for many years, so he definitely had enough experience. He had been cautious and conscientious all these years and had never made any mistakes. He was just the right person to take over as the third elder. Zhang Mengguang used to be the head steward of the Treasury Hall. He had several generations of savings, but he was still so poor. It could be seen that he was extremely incorruptible. Presumably, none of the elders wished for another Zhang Dingyi to appear in the finance hall, so Zhang Mengguang should take over the position of finance elder. Su Qingchuan of the punishment hall had made great contributions to the investigation of Zhang Dingyi's case, and had been promoted to elder of the mine. Elder Han was an upright and plain-spoken person. He was the most suitable person to take over the position of head supervisor of the punishment hall. Elder Wu Jun also had a reputation for being upright, so he would be the head supervisor of the finance hall. What do the elders think of this appointment? Among the Blood Shadow elders, the ones with the highest status were the 3 Grand Elders and the head supervisor of the Blood Wolf. The head supervisor of the Blood Wolf had the same status as the second elder, but his position was special. His status was extremely high, but he did not have the power to make decisions on major matters. Below him were the elders of finance, punishment, mines, forest, pills, tools, and other industries that controlled large industries. Although the actual influence of these elders differed greatly, their statuses were the same. Below these elders were the head supervisors of the various halls. Below them were the hall masters and vice hall masters of the various first-level branches. Although they were elders with real power in name, they were far from the decision-making level. In reality, their influence was only at the level of an elder with no duties. If it was not for experience, ordinary elders with no duties would not be willing to become hall masters. Although Zhou Wan's appointment was not exactly the same as what Wang Daoyuan had said before, it could be said that she had taken care of all the factions. Needless to say, Zhang Mengguang was a key figure in dividing the Zhang family factions. Elder Han was a true neutral faction member. Elevating his position could be considered roping in the neutral faction. Wu Jun was Wu Xiang's younger brother. Wu Xiang was considered a neutral faction member who was closer to the Wang family. Naturally, he had to be roped in as well. Elder Chao had already surrendered before. Now some of his descendants had already established families in Guiyuan County. All the factions were very satisfied. Naturally, no one objected. Zhou Xian smiled and said, "In that case, let's arrange it this way. 10 days later, we will confer the titles of elders at the Ancestral Hall." Then she walked out of the discussion hall. The other elders were also happy and worried. Most of them were beaming with joy. The Zhang family elders were all worried. No one was a fool. Naturally, they could see that the Zhang family could only drag out an ignoble existence in the future. As for those elders who were not direct descendants of the Zhang family, they were deep in thought. The tree that was the Zhang family was about to fall. Even Zhang Mengguang, the Zhang family elder, could be put in an important position. They were even less of a problem. Not long after Zhou Xian returned to the small courtyard of the Zhou family, Zhang Mengguang came to visit her. After he was promoted to Elder of Finance, he was not happy. Instead, he was full of worry. Shadow Master, retired Emperor, after this incident with Zhang Dingyi, I really don't want to continue staying in the Blood Shadow headquarters. I hope that Shadow Master will be kind enough to let me work in the Shanbei branch. Even if it's a second-grade deputy hall master, I'm still willing. Although the Zhang family has suffered a major setback, it's still a foundation of tens of thousands of years. If they take revenge, my wife and children will be finished. Zhou Xian smiled and said, "Don't worry. I'll naturally ensure the safety of your family. I remember that you have an early-stage Zifu realm son. With this cultivation, it won't be a problem for him to become a second-grade deputy hall master." What do you think of the Linhai branch? Although it's just established, it has abundant spiritual energy and abundant products. Wang Daoyuan also said, let your family move to this small courtyard first. When Ming Ren and Ming Xian are 10 years old, I'll bring them back to the Yan kingdom to acknowledge their ancestors. I'll also bring your family along. Hearing this, Zhang Mengguang was overjoyed. When he reported Zhang Dingy, he was already prepared to die. Now that he had Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan's guarantee, not only could he be the elder of finance, but his family could also work in the Yan kingdom. It was naturally a good thing to have the best of both worlds. Moreover, his family would be personally protected by Wang Daoyuan. Even if Zhang Dingming personally made a move, it would be difficult for him to hurt them. He repeatedly bowed and thanked them before leaving. Not long after Zhang Mengguang left, another person came to visit. It was a late-stage gold core and a middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator. The late-stage gold core cultivator was Wu Xiang's younger brother, Wu Jun. After the two came in, Wu Jun cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Shadow Master and retired Emperor." Zhou Wan asked, "What's the matter, Elder Wu?" Wu Jun smiled and said, "It's not for anything important. It's for a private matter. This is my son Wu Weizhong. His talent is not bad, but he didn't become a candidate elder. It's not a good idea to let him do nothing in the headquarters all day. I want him to go to the branch to gain experience. The Shanbei branch has added 2 more second-class branches. I want to ask for the position of Deputy Hall Master for Weizhong. I hope Shadow Master will approve." This meant that he wanted to board the Yan Kingdom ship. As Wu Xiang's younger brother, Wu Jun came to express goodwill, which represented the Wu family's intention. Apart from the Zhang and Su families, the Wu family was also considered an influential family. Moreover, Wu Xiang was the Blood Shadow's supervisor. Chao Jing had already expressed his stance, and now the Wu family had also come. In addition to the people recruited by Zhang Yu, more than half of the non-direct elders were already on Zhou Wan's side. There were only a few elders left with real power, so their influence was limited. Zhou Wan smiled and said, "The Shanbei branch is in need of people. With your son's talent, it won't be a problem for him to be a Hall Master." Wu Jun was just about to thank her when someone outside the door asked to see him. It was an acquaintance, Su Qinghe. In less than 2 hours, 3 elders with real power came one after another. One of them was the second elder. Chapter 9:20. Both Wu Jun and Su Qinghe came through the back door, so this meeting was a bit awkward. Zhou Wan tried to smooth things over. Young Master Wu's matter is settled. It just so happens that the second elder is also here. The position of a second-grade branch hall master can be decided by the second elder. Wu Weizhong bowed. "Thank you for your guidance, Shadow Lord." Then he bowed to Su Qinghe. "Greetings, second elder." Su Qinghe smiled. The Wu family has produced many talents in recent years. This junior is indeed not an ordinary person. Being a second-grade branch hall master is just a piece of cake. When I return, I'll take care of this matter. Wu Jun and his son exchanged a few more pleasantries before leaving the small courtyard. Su Qinghe cupped his hands and said, "This subordinate came to ask about how to deal with the Zhang family. The 3 elders are now loyal to the Shadow Lord, as are the 2 elders of punishment and finance. Now that Wu Jun is here, Wu Xiang presumably has the intention of drawing closer to the Shadow Lord. It's the most appropriate thing to do to the Zhang family." Wang Daoyuan smiled. The Yan kingdom needs a complete blood shadow. Su Qinghe fell into deep thought. After a long time he said, "This subordinate understands. The retired emperor wants the Zhang family to fall into disarray. But with Zhang Dingming, a Yuanying cultivator, it'll be a bit difficult to make the Zhang family fall apart. At most we can rope in some non-direct elders who rely on the Zhang family. It'll be difficult to rope in the Zhang family's cultivators. Why don't I put some pressure on them and force the Zhang family to split?" Wang Daoyuan shook his head. The Zhang family's tree has been growing for tens of thousands of years. The tree has deep roots and luxuriant leaves. So far we've only cut off the head of the trunk and the largest branch. It'll be difficult for the Zhang family to climb to a high position in the future. But the tree has many small branches and countless roots. These are the branches of blood shadow scattered all over Beiyuan. There are many Zhang family members in these branches and they control the intelligence system. The greatest value of blood shadow is its intelligence system. Su Qinghe nodded. This subordinate understands. Let's leave the Zhang family alone for a few years. As for the Zhang clan's main branch and the cultivators who depended on the Zhang clan, they neither suppressed nor put them in important positions. The sun was setting in the west of the Zhang family. Those with weak wills would naturally leave and join the Shadow Lord. It won't be too late to deal with Zhang Dingming after everyone has left. After he finished speaking, a hesitant look appeared on his face, as if he wanted to say something but didn't dare to. Elder Su is indeed outstanding in terms of strategy, but it's a pity that your cultivation is too low. You are now at the peak of the gold core realm. With the inheritance of your Su family, breaking your gold core and forming your nascent soul is just a piece of cake. Su Qinghe was stunned. If he broke through Yuanying, it would seriously threaten Zhou Wan's position. Seeing his expression, Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "In my eyes, there's no difference between the early stage of Yuanying and the peak stage of Jindan. If you break your gold core and form your nascent soul, it will certainly affect Zhou Wan's status, but the one who will be affected the most is still Zhang Dingming. The more Yuanying cultivators there are, the less valuable he is. If there are 4 or 5 Yuanying cultivators in the blood shadow, why would we care about a sinful person?" Su Qinghe cupped his hands and said, "The retired emperor is broad-minded. I admire you." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. "There's no need for pleasantries. You didn't come here just to ask about the Zhang family. If there's anything else, just say it." Su Qinghe smiled awkwardly. "I can't hide my thoughts from the retired emperor. If the Shadow Lord wants to completely control the blood shadow, the Zhang family will die. It's also not suitable for the Su family to have too much power in the blood shadow. Therefore, I want to send the main force of the family to the Yan Kingdom. In the future, the Su family's main branch will be in the Yan Kingdom, and the blood shadow will be a branch. However, I was afraid that you would suspect me of having ulterior motives, so I didn't dare to do it directly. The Su family has contributed to the suppression of the Zhang family this time, so I want to ask you to allow the Su family to send more people over." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "The Yan Kingdom has more than enough land, but it doesn't have enough ability to develop it. Even with the Chamber of Commerce, it's difficult to accumulate enough power in a short time. It's the time when people are needed. Even if you move the entire Su family over, I don't have any objections. It's just that you can't move too much at once so as to avoid the elders of the blood shadow feeling that Zhou Wan is not tolerant." Su Qinghe was overjoyed. "With the retired emperor's words, I'm relieved. If the retired emperor and the Shadow Lord don't have any other orders, I'll take my leave first." Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan didn't have anything for him to do, so they let him go. Zhou Wan glanced at Wang Daoyuan. "You two treacherous villains are together only thinking about how to trick people. This Su Qinghe is just like his father, full of evil tricks. A gentleman has his ways of being a gentleman, and a villain has his ways of being a villain. Which gentleman would do such a thing to trick the Zhang family this time? But you're right about one thing. Su Qinghe is indeed similar to Su Boyu. They're both smart but lacking in foresight. Fortunately, he's not bold and is more pragmatic than his father. He knows that following the Yan Kingdom will lead to greater development in the future. Such people are useful." At this time, Zhang Dingming was staying on his spiritual mountain. Several peak stage and late stage golden core cultivators were gathered together. One of the peak stage golden core cultivators, who looked quite similar to him, cupped his hands and said, "Father, that traitor Zhang Mengguang, Wu Jun and Su Qinghe all ran to the Shadow Lord's house just now. Now the 3 elders, the Punishment Elder and the Finance Elder, are the Shadow Lord's people. In the future, it'll be difficult for the Zhang family's disciples to rise to higher positions. The current elders may also be caught in the wrong and get rid of one by one. If this goes on, the Zhang family's decline is inevitable. You have to think of a way." Zhang Dingming sighed. "I can only blame myself for indulging Zhang Dingy too much, which led to today's bitter outcome. You don't have to worry too much. As long as I'm here, the Zhang family won't fall." Wang Daoyuan has wild ambitions. He wants to turn the blood shadow into a vassal of the Yan Kingdom. He established the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce to completely swallow the blood shadow. Unfortunately, the other elders are short-sighted. They only know how to focus on the benefits in front of them. They don't know Wang Daoyuan's sinister intentions. Even if the Shadow Lord killed me, No one would be able to find fault with Zhang Dingyi's actions. But he kept me alive. And do you know why? Zhang Mingchen replied, is it because he's afraid of our Zhang family's heirloom Dharma artifact? I've been fighting with Su Boyu for more than 500 years and I've always had the upper hand. But I'm inferior to him in nurturing the next generation. You guys are far inferior to Su Qinghe. When Wang Daoyuan was in the mid-stage of Yuanying, he could already kill a half-divine beast Grand Demon King. He's now at the peak of Yuanying. No matter how strong the heirloom Dharma artifact is, I can't unleash the power of a Grand Demon King. I'm vulnerable in front of him. He wants to swallow the Blood Shadow's intelligence system completely. The focus of the intelligence system is the various branches. Most of these branches have people from the Zhang family. Once they push us too hard, the Zhang family can destroy nearly half of the branches. It's impossible for Wang Daoyuan to restore these branches without a few hundred years. He's ambitious and won't waste a few hundred years. So, the branches in our hands are protective talismans. Remember, the focus of the family will be on the various branches in the future. If the Hall Masters of the first-level branches are from the Zhang family, try to place Zhang family members in the important positions. The tighter the control of these branches, the more Wang Daoyuan won't dare to touch us. Wang Daoyuan doesn't like to be ruthless, so there's no need for the Zhang family to fight to the death. When he realizes that he can't destroy the Zhang family, there will be a chance for reconciliation. The more cards we have, the better the conditions we can obtain. Zhang Mingchen asked, are you saying that the Zhang family will become a subject of the Yan kingdom in the future? Zhang Dingming sighed. I don't want to do this either, but the Zhang family has no hope of controlling the Blood Shadow. Since the Blood Shadow doesn't belong to us, there's no harm in selling it. Before that, we have to show the strength of the Zhang family. If any of you are unclean, hurry up and deal with it properly. Don't be caught red-handed again. If another Zhang Dingyi appears, we can only kneel and beg for mercy. Chapter 921. Zhang Dingming came up with a reliable countermeasure, and the rest of the Zhang family felt more at ease. They were also worried that Zhang Dingming would fight to the death with the Shadow Lord and the Yan Kingdom. After all, the Zhang family was so small. Now it was hard for them to do anything alone, and even their own family members were starting to be disheartened. The Shadow Lord had already grasped the main power in her hands, and more than half of the people in Blood Shadow supported her. Coupled with the support of the Yan Kingdom, this power was not something the Zhang family could compare to. Now that Zhang Dingming had plans to surrender to the Yan Kingdom, he would show how strong his family's foundation was and how powerful they were. The Yan Kingdom would not dare to act rashly and could only take the Zhang family under their command through enlistment. Of course, the benefits could not be lacking. Zhang Mingchen cupped his hands and said, since father has already made a decision, then let's do it. I'll go back and inform the clansmen who are in charge of the first-level branch and let them arrange for their clansmen to be in important positions as much as possible. By the way, Father Zhang Mengguang is now the finance elder and he has a high position. Those non-direct elders who used to rely on our Zhang family, and the distant branches of the Zhang family, all have some ideas. They may leave our Zhang family and rely on Zhang Mengguang. If we can keep these people, our Zhang family will have more trump cards. Should we pay a higher price to keep them here? Zhang Dingming sighed. Now what can our Zhang family take out to keep them? We don't have the power to appoint personnel and finance in our hands, so why should they listen to us? Especially those elders who used to rely on our family. They were originally looking for a big tree to cool off. Now that the tree is going to fall, they will definitely find another one. These people can't be kept and we don't have to worry about them. As for the distant branches of our Zhang family, we can try to keep them. They also have the surname Zhang. Even if they rely on the Shadow Lord, it will be difficult for them to be put in an important position, and they may even be suppressed by the Su family. Now we can raise the treatment of the distant branches to the same level as the main branch disciples. After all, they are from the same branch and there will be many people willing to stay. Hearing this, Zhang Mingchen was a little unhappy. Father, the number of the distant branches is more than 10 times that of the main branch disciples. If we give them the same treatment, the family's expenses will be more than 10 times higher. Zhang Dingming could not hide the anger on his face and he slapped Zhang Mingchen's face. How did I give birth to such a stupid son? At a time like this, he still had the mood to care about expenses. No matter what, the Zhang clan was still a cultivator clan with tens of thousands of years of history. How could they raise so many misers? The family had tens of thousands of years of wealth. If the expenses were increased tenfold, it wouldn't be a problem for them to last a few hundred years. Wang Daoyuan wouldn't wait a few hundred years before making a move. Our Zhang family clearly doesn't lack that bit of resources, but you treat money as your life. After I became the great elder, I wanted you to gain more experience, so I rarely took care of the family's affairs. But I didn't expect you to take care of the family's affairs like this. The distant clansmen couldn't get any benefits from the clan, and their lives were even worse than those elders who weren't direct descendants. If you had given them a little bit of resources, Zhang Mengguang would not have reported Zhang Dingyi, and our Zhang family would not have fallen to such a state. Now is the Zhang family's last chance. We can only throw in everything we have and give it a try. You're actually worried about spending too much? You really can't carve rotten wood. Forget it, you guys aren't cut out for managing a family anyway. I can't take care of Blood Shadow right now, so I'll personally take care of the family's affairs to prevent you from causing any more trouble. The Zhang family's side was extremely vexed, while Wang Daoyuan was rather idle. For the time being, he did not need to find trouble with the Zhang family anymore. He also comprehended the array formation inheritance of the Valley of Beasts in the Zhou family's small courtyard. Previously, his artifact refinement level had already risen to Tier 5 high grade, and he could reforge the Black Jade Cauldron. Now it was also time to raise his array formation level. After all, refining Tier 5 high-grade puppets and flying boats required both artifact refinement and pill refinement level to reach Tier 5 high grade. When he had nothing to do, he would take out a formation disc and carve Tier 5 high-grade array patterns on it. The formation disc's requirements for materials were not high. Using Tier 4 materials to refine the formation disc was not a problem. The Zhang family admitted defeat. Zhou Wan could be said to be a man of his word in Blood Shadow. Not needing to wrangle with people, the time to deal with official affairs was also very little. Most of the time every day he could stay in the small courtyard and take care of the two little fellows. With him playing with the two little fellows, Wang Daoyuan also had more ample time. 3 years later, he successfully refined a set of Tier 5 high-grade defensive array formation disc and officially became a Tier 5 high-grade array master. He did not dare to refine a Tier 5 high-grade flying warship. After all, that thing consumed too many artifact refinement materials. A flying warship would consume thousands of years or even tens of thousands of kilograms of artifact refinement materials. Tier 5 high-grade artifact refinement materials were originally insufficient. It was better to refine Tier 5 high-grade puppets. In a short period of time, the combat power of the puppet was not inferior to a flying warship of the same rank. It was just that it could not last long. But the materials used to refine a flying warship were enough to refine dozens of puppets of the same rank. He also returned to the house in the small courtyard and began to refine a Tier 5 high-grade puppet. This puppet was still a sword puppet. After all, sword puppets were the strongest. Previously, he also refined a Tier 5 high-grade origin returning sword. It was just right for this sword puppet to use. Sword puppets were the puppets that he refined the most. It could be considered a walk in the park. Even if it was a Tier 5 high-grade sword puppet, it would not take long. In order to save on artifact refinement materials, he was very careful when refining. However, it only took him half a month to complete the puppet. Because he was careful enough, there were no major flaws left. Next was to nurture the puppet soul. This was not difficult. The puppet soul that he had previously asked for was not used up. He could still use it now. After dealing with the demonic beast soul, he stored it in his sea of consciousness and drank some 7-leaf ghost face flower due to nourish the soul. When the soul was strong enough, Yuanying brought the puppet soul into the space of the spirit pearl and personally transmitted the origin returning sword intent into it. The flow of time in the space of the spirit pearl was already 90 times faster than the outside world. The area was also more than 200 mu. The concentration of spirit energy was affected by Wang Daoyuan's cultivation. Could not be improved anymore. It stopped at the peak of Tier 5. However, 2 of the spirit plants in the space of the spirit pearl had broken through to Tier 5. They were the earliest jade needle white jade pine and a 7-leaf ghost face flower. These 2 spirit plants originally had the potential to grow to Tier 5. But because of the lack of spirit energy in Zhou Xian, it was not enough to support the growth of Tier 5 spirit plants. Under such circumstances, Tier 5 spirit plants would either die directly or barely survive. It was impossible for them to break through to Tier 5. After staying in the space of the spirit pearl for many years, there was enough spirit energy to nourish it. The 7-leaf ghost face flower had also multiplied for several generations. It was reasonable for it to recover its grade. The phoenix feather fur spiritual wood that he had obtained when he had just formed his core had now reached Tier 4 upper grade. It could be used to refine a Tier 5 lower grade flying warship. Half a year later, the origin returning sword intent that the puppet soul had comprehended finally passed. More than 40 years had passed in the space of the spirit pearl. Wang Daoyuan's Yuanying left the space of the spirit pearl and put the puppet soul into the puppet. The strength of this puppet was already the top in Zhou Xian. In addition to the origin returning sword intent, Wang Daoyuan also gave it 6 spirit gathering pearls, which could allow it to fight for more than 2 hours. And there were more ways to search for enemies. In addition to the magic compass, he also let it learn a secret detection technique, in case it encountered opponents with special means to avoid the puppet's detection. The 2 probing methods were more reliable. Wang Daoyuan walked out of the house. Zhou Wan was meditating in the courtyard. Seeing him come out, Zhou Wan said, "There's a big movement on the Zhang family's side again." Most of the elders who were not direct descendants of the Zhang family previously joined Zhangyu. Even some of the Zhang family's cultivators expressed goodwill to us. The Zhang family still dares to play tricks. They are really bold. Chapter 922. It had been more than 3 years since the last time they caused trouble for the Zhang clan, and the storm back then had more or less subsided. The Zhang clan's reputation in Blood Shadow was completely ruined. All the middle and low-level disciples scolded the Zhang clan. Of course, Zhou Wan punished Zhang Dingyi and promoted Zhang Dingming to the position of Grand Elder with no real power. She even repaid the salary that Zhang Dingyi had embezzled, and their prestige was unparalleled. The Zhang clan had been well behaved these 3 years, and those who still held positions in the headquarters did their best to not attract attention. They were cautious and conscientious in their work, afraid of making mistakes. Wang Daoyuan didn't expect them to come out and cause trouble again. They didn't dare to fight for power directly. Instead, they took the initiative to send the Zhang clan disciples to the various branches. Originally, it was just the internal management of the various branches that the headquarters couldn't do anything about. Now there are always second-level branch hall masters and vice hall masters being changed, and the Zhang clan disciples from the headquarters go over to fill in the holes. You said before that the Zhang clan's most important thing isn't its inheritance or resources from the headquarters, but its influence in the various branches. By doing this, the Zhang clan is increasing the influence of the branches. When the time comes, it will be even harder for us to destroy the Zhang clan. Wang Daoyuan pondered for a long time before asking, "How many first-level branches are doing this?" Blood Shadow has more than 20 first-level branches, and there were 13 first-level branch hall masters who originally belonged to the Zhang clan. But after we dealt with the Zhang clan once, most of the first-level branch hall masters' attitude towards the Zhang clan was neither friendly nor distant. A few of the branch hall masters with external surnames attached to the Zhang clan didn't act rashly. Even the distant branches of the Zhang clan were watching the show. There were only 6 second-level branch hall masters and vice hall masters who changed all of their branch hall masters to Zhang clan disciples. These 6 first-level branches have more than 40 second-level branches under them. The Zhang clan had fallen to such a state, but more than a fifth of the branches still responded. The other branches also had a wait-and-see attitude. If the Shadow Master couldn't come up with a good plan to deal with the Zhang clan, their attitude would change. Their attitude would also change and they would continue to support the Zhang family. After all, the Zhang clan and the Su clan had been fighting for tens of thousands of years. During this time, the Zhang clan had declined greatly, but they hadn't been completely destroyed. In the eyes of others, the Zhang clan had a high chance of making a comeback. If you want to promote a branch hall master to the headquarters, do they have the right to refuse? Zhou Wan shook her head. Of course not. The Shadow Lord has given the order by force. Even the 3 Grand Elders together are unable to stop him. What can a mere hall master do? However, the vice hall masters of these first-level branches were considered elders with real power in name. If he wanted to promote them to the headquarters, he would have to give them the position of an elder with real power. If they were given an elder without any duties, it would be a demotion. There had to be a suitable reason. Otherwise, it would be me, the Shadow Master, taking revenge on the Zhang family. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "That's not difficult. These 6 Zhang clan members are divided into main and side branches. He would take down the main vein first and leave the side veins for now. Moreover, were the Hall Masters but so clean? He could just casually pick a Hall Master of the Zhang clan's main bloodline and teach him a lesson. There was no need for him to pack up too much. He could just take him to the headquarters and make him an elder with no duties. This would also prevent the Zhang family from being too scared and acting out of desperation. We still have to invite Su Qinghe for this kind of thing. He's better at this kind of work." Zhou Wan glanced at him. "You 2 sinister and cunning villains are going to conspire to trick people again." After saying that, she sent a message to Su Qinghe. Su Qinghe's movements were rather nimble. He soon arrived at the Zhou family's small courtyard. As soon as he entered, he cupped his hands towards Zhou Luan and Wang Daoyuan. "Shadow Lord, retired Emperor, I wonder why you called this subordinate here?" Wang Daoyuan said with a smile. "The Zhang family is stirring up trouble again. The higher-ups here at the headquarters are mostly our people. The Zhang family has no place to stand. However, Zhang Dingming, this old fellow, seems to have seen through my purpose and wants to give up fighting for power here at the headquarters. He hides the strength of the clan in the various branches. In this way, it will be very difficult for Zhou Luan to completely control the Blood Shadow intelligence system." Su Qinghe sighed. "Zhang Dingming is still shrewd enough. When my late father was alive, he fought with him for hundreds of years but never gained the upper hand. If it weren't for Shadow Lord and retired Emperor, it would be difficult for me to beat him. However, there are very few capable people among the younger generation of the Zhang family. They have done many stupid things. Retired Emperor, how do you plan to deal with the Zhang family?" Among the first-level branches controlled by the Zhang family, there are still a large number of Zhang family disciples placed in 6 places. What I mean is to find someone with more misdeeds and punish them, then transfer them back to the headquarters to be an elder with no duties. It will be a show of strength so that those distant branches of the Zhang family won't dare to act rashly. Then we can slowly deal with the main branch of the Zhang family. The Su family was worthy of being the old enemy of the Zhang family. When he heard that there were still 6 first-level branches cooperating with the Zhang family, he immediately said, "These 6 branches should be located in the capitals of Wu, Qi, Xin, Sui, Huang and Zhongli, right?" Zhou Wan nodded. "It is precisely these 6 first-level branches." "Then that's right. These 6 first-level branches have always been under the control of the Zhang family. Among them, Wu, Qi and Xin are all controlled by the main branch of the Zhang family. The other 3 are distant branches. However, this distant branch is not too far away, only 7 or 8 generations away. Zhang Dingming takes care of these 3 distant branches, and they are also loyal to the Zhang family." Wang Daoyuan asked, "You have to pick the soft persimmons. First, deal with those who are not very capable and have a bad record. Which of these 3 descendants of the main branch of the Zhang family is the easiest to deal with and will get the most benefits?" "It must be the Xianxia branch in the capital of Wu Kingdom. Wu Kingdom's territory is not small, and it is in charge of 10 second-level branches. Although Wu Kingdom's national strength is not as good as Zhou Qin, it is also very rich. Qi Kingdom is also good. But Zhang Mingjue, the Hall Master of the Linji branch in the capital, is one of the few capable people among the younger generation of the Zhang family. Zhang Dingming's eldest son Zhang Mingchen is a miser and not the material for great things. Zhang Mingjue is Zhang Dingming's nephew. This guy does things flawlessly. For so many years our Su family has only found some trivial mistakes, but we can't bring him down at all. Therefore, Zhang Dingming has always intended to let Zhang Mingjue take charge of the Zhang family and began to focus on training him. The Hall Master of the Xianxia branch is Zhang Dingming's other son Zhang Mingge. He is a standard playboy. His talent is not very good. He is more than 500 years old, but he is still an early-stage gold core cultivator. The Deputy Hall Master is in charge of handling official affairs. This guy only eats, drinks and plays all day long. He has not committed any serious crimes, but he has docked his salary a lot. Since the retired emperor's purpose is not to kill people but to demote him to an elder with no duties, He is the most suitable person to deal with Zhang Mingge. Wang Daoyuan pondered for a while. In that case, I want to crush both the soft and the hard persimmon. If I can bring these two brothers back together, Zhang Mingge will let him be an elder with no duties. As for Zhang Mingjue, if he stays in Qi Kingdom, he will be a disaster sooner or later. Since he did not do anything wrong, his political achievements should be good, so I will promote him well. At the headquarters, the Su family can find a reason to take down an unimportant chief steward and send him to Yan Kingdom. It should not be a problem for him to be a guardian. Then let Zhang Mingjue take over the position of chief steward and let him enjoy a good life in the yamen. Su Qinghe had long wanted to send a gold core cultivator over, but the intention of fighting for power was too obvious. Now that Wang Daoyuan took the initiative to suggest it, he was overjoyed. Brilliant. Really brilliant. If we take down 2 hall masters of the Zhang family's main branch at the same time, the 3 hall masters of the distant branches will most likely not dare to act rashly. One of the 2 from the Zhang family will be promoted and the other demoted, making the shadow master appear impartial and selfless. That's right, what about the 2 missing hall masters? Taking down these 2 brothers is to eliminate the Zhang family's influence. The Zhang family has been in business for many years, so we must send someone loyal and capable. It doesn't matter if the Su family does not have an elder with no duties or a little less experience. As long as we are strong enough to suppress the Zhang family's power, it will be fine. Chapter 923. The Zhang family had set up branches in these countries for many years. Most of the managers and intelligence personnel in the branches were from the Zhang family. Even the deputy hall masters and the deputy hall masters of the second-level branches were from the Zhang family. If they directly put an outsider in the position of a first-level hall master, they would definitely be taken over by their subordinates if they were not strong enough. Su Qinghe answered straightforwardly, "That's not a problem. The outsiders who were replaced by the Zhang family should still be in these branches. My Su family will send people over to gather these outsiders. They will also be a strong force. With the pressure from the headquarters, it won't be difficult to wipe out the Zhang family's forces." Wang Daoyuan nodded. "Since you can do it, go and prepare as soon as possible. Now that the Zhang family has been defeated, they have no ability to stop us. There's no need to create momentum or anything. Let's just use force." Su Qinghe cupped his hands and said, "I'll go and make the arrangements now. I'll bring it up in the meeting hall tomorrow." With that he left the small courtyard. Zhou Luan asked, "Why do you always think of these tricks to trick people? Children of the poor take charge of the family early. When I was young, the Wang family was still a foundation establishment family. There were strong enemies all around. If we didn't think of more tricks, how could we have survived until now?" Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian were both cultivating in the room. Wang Daoyuan and Su Qinghe's discussion had always been more sinister. Zhou Luan didn't let the 2 children listen. As cultivators with heavenly spirit roots, their cultivation speed was naturally not slow. Wang Daoyuan didn't want them to cultivate too quickly. After all, they were still too young and their bodies were still growing. Most of their time was spent on their own interests. Even so, their cultivation had reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. Wang Mingxian's cultivation speed was slightly faster and wasn't far from the 4th level. The 2 of them were only 9 years old now. It was already very good that they could cultivate to the 3rd level of qi refinement. In any case, if they didn't build their foundation before they reached adulthood, there was no benefit in cultivating too quickly. Their cultivation techniques were naturally not simple. Wang Mingren cultivated the slaughtering sword art of the White Tiger Hall in the Valley of Beasts. This was the core inheritance of the White Tiger Hall and was also left behind by an almighty. Of course, Wang Mingxian's cultivation method wasn't bad either. It was called the Yi with longevity technique and its main purpose was to cultivate vitality. It could be used to heal injuries and strengthen the body. Of course, this cultivation method was not only used for healing. The hall master of the Linji branch of the state of Qi, Zhang Mingjue, is also Zhang Dingyi's nephew, but his political achievements are one of the best among the first-level branch hall masters. This person's words were very objective. An elder with the surname Su had taken the initiative to defend the Zhang family's hall master. This made the other elders a little confused. When did these 2 families reconcile? The 3rd elder Chao Jing saw some clues. Although he didn't know the complete inside story, he could tell that the Su family wanted to recruit these two hall masters to the headquarters. The Su family's intention represented Zhou Xian and the retired emperor's intention. He also said, "Shadow Master, since Zhang Mengge is suspicious, we should summon him back to the headquarters and hand him over to the punishment hall for trial. If he's wrong, he'll be punished. If he's not, it won't be too late to entrust him with more important tasks." As for Zhang Mingjue, he's been the hall master of the Linji branch for decades. Since his political achievements are outstanding, he should be promoted. Su Qinghe was stunned. "That was my word." He reacted quickly and said, "The third elder's words are reasonable. We should indeed summon Zhang Mingjue and Zhang Minggui back to the headquarters. Meritorious deeds will be rewarded and mistakes will be punished." Zhang Yu also nodded. "That's right." Zhou Xian said, "Since the three elders all think so, we should summon them back to the headquarters. Those who have made contributions will be promoted, and those who have made mistakes will be demoted." Since the Shadow Master and the three elders had agreed, the others would be courting death if they objected. Zhang Yu cupped his hands and said, "Understood. I'll order the two hall masters to come to the headquarters." This action made the non-direct elders a little confused. However, the elders of the Zhang family knew that things weren't good. The Shadow Master was making a move on the branch controlled by the Zhang family. After discussing the matter, everyone dispersed. The Elixir Elder hurriedly ran to the Zhang family's spiritual mountain. When he saw Zhang Dingming, he cupped his hands and said, "Uncle, the Su family suddenly attacked Minggui in the meeting hall today. Moreover, the three elders seemed to have colluded to drag Mingjue into the water. They said that they would summon them back to the headquarters. If they're guilty, they'll be demoted. If they're innocent, they'll be put in an important position. Once they're summoned back to the headquarters, the Shadow Master will send someone else to take over as Hall Master. Our previous efforts will all be in vain." Zhang Dingming sighed. "Time is not on my side. I don't have any power now. We can't oppose the Shadow Master and the three elders' decisions. I didn't expect that the Shadow Master would react just as I made a move. The more you do, the more mistakes you make. The less you do, the less mistakes you make. At this time, we mustn't be caught red-handed. We can only wait and see. Fortunately, we've already dealt with the beginning and the end. Even if we can catch a small mistake, it won't be a big deal. Minggui's side will at most be demoted. With his bit of intelligence, it's better for him to be an idle elder. Mingjue has always been careful. At most he can find some trivial matters. If he's summoned to the headquarters, they can only reward him. The two of them won't be in danger. It's just that the Wu and Qi branches are no longer our Zhang families. The Shadow Master and Wang Daoyuan already have a very effective countermeasure for the other Hall Masters to temporarily stop placing their family disciples. No matter how many family disciples are placed here, they can uproot them. There's no need to waste time. If we continue to resist, we'll only be asking for trouble. Chapter 924. The Shadow Master and the three elders issued orders to summon Zhang Minggui and Zhang Mingjue back to the headquarters. The two of them didn't dare to disobey. It wasn't a big deal. At most, they would be demoted if they came to the headquarters. If they disobeyed the orders of the Shadow Master and the three elders, it was equivalent to betraying Blood Shadow. What they had to face next was endless pursuit. And it wasn't just Blood Shadow that was after them. There was also the Yen Kingdom. After receiving the orders, the two of them immediately set off. They returned to Blood Shadow's headquarters in 6 or 7 days. Everything that needed to be said had already been explained in a letter on the way. Now they didn't need to meet Zhang Dingming to discuss anything. The two of them went straight to the meeting hall. Jinzi Branch Hall Master Zhang Minggui and Linji Branch Hall Master Zhang Mingjue greet the Shadow Master. These two fellows were indeed nurtured by aristocratic families with tens of thousands of years of history. Although Zhang Minggui was an idiot, their actions were still very magnanimous. Punishment Elder Su Qingxuan asked, "Zhang Minggui, the former deputy hall master of Jinzi Branch, accused you of removing him from his position for no reason and indulging in sensual pleasures. Furthermore, you misappropriated more than 1 million mid-grade spirit stones from the branch's treasury for your indulgence. Is this true?" Zhang Minggui hurriedly said, "Yes, there is such a thing. I was muddle-headed and did something stupid. I am willing to double the compensation for the misappropriated resources. Please be lenient with me, Shadow Master and the elders. Such a straightforward admission of guilt left everyone at a loss for what to do. Zhou Xian also immediately understood that this fellow had received guidance from Zhang Dingming. Anyway, his crimes wouldn't reach the point of being beheaded. He might as well admit it and compensate for the misappropriated resources. This way, Blood Shadow's interests wouldn't be damaged too much and he could be dealt with lightly. With his attitude of accepting punishment, Su Qingchuan didn't want to torture him anymore. Since you took the initiative to admit your mistakes, we will be lenient with you. Xianxia Branch Hall Master Zhang Menggui neglected his duties and misappropriated resources from the treasury. He will be stripped of his position as Hall Master and will remain an elder with no duties. Go home and reflect on your mistakes. Don't cause any more trouble. Zhang Menggui also bowed calmly. Thank you, Shadow Master and the elders. I will take my leave. With that, he turned and walked out of the meeting hall and returned to Su's Spirit Mountain. Zhang Mingjue didn't do anything wrong. He came here mainly to be rewarded. The punishment hall only had the power to punish but not to reward. Third Elder Chao Jing said, Linji Branch Hall Master Zhang Mingjue has been the Hall Master for more than 70 years. In the past 70 years, the amount of information sent to headquarters by the Linji branch had more than doubled. Apart from that, they had also sent a large number of precious spiritual items. After investigation, it was found that Zhang Mingjue had been cautious and conscientious during his time as the Hall Master and had not made any mistakes. A capable and experienced person who had done meritorious deeds without making any mistakes would naturally be put in an important position. As for the position, I'll leave it to you to decide. Zhou Xian nodded. Zhang Mingjue has indeed done a good job. He should be promoted. Great Elder, is there any vacancy for an elder position in the headquarters? Zhang Yu replied, originally there was no vacancy. However, a few days ago the Spirit Talisman Palace's chief supervisor made a small mistake and has been removed from his position. If it was a small force, being the general manager of the Spirit Talisman Palace was a lucrative job. However, for a faction like Blood Shadow, the value of the Spirit Talisman Palace wasn't great. Because they didn't have a strong talisman inheritance, the Spirit Talisman Palace could only refine talismans of low value. As such, the status of the Spirit Talisman Elder and Chief Supervisor naturally wasn't high. This position isn't bad. Zhang Mingjue will be the Chief Supervisor of the Spirit Talisman Palace. Zhang Mingjue also bowed. Thank you, Shadow Master. Thank you, elders. Zhou Xian asked, these two branches are extremely important. Who do you think should take over? Great Elder replied, for the Xianxia branch, the previous Vice Hall Master was removed by Zhang Menggui for no reason. Now he should be reinstated and another Hall Master should be sent over. As for the Linji branch, headquarters will send another person over. Chao Jing cupped his hands and said, I would like to recommend two people. They are Su Qingchuan and Su Yijin. The two of them are already more than 400 years old and have enough experience. With temporary matters arranged for them, they can be considered capable and experienced. After some experience, they will definitely become great talents. They can take on the role of Hall Master. Zhou Xian nodded. In that case, we will do as Third Elder says. Su Qingchuan will be the Linji branch Hall Master, and Su Yijin will be the Xianxia branch Hall Master. After arranging these matters, the elders dispersed. Zhang Mingjue returned to the Zhang family's Spirit Mountain. When he saw Zhang Dingming, he cupped his hands and said, Uncle Menggui and I have been transferred back to headquarters. The two branches are now in the hands of the Su family. It won't be long before the clansmen of these two branches are suppressed. If this continues, our previous arrangements will be finished. What should we do about this? You have to come up with a plan. Zhang Dingming sighed. What else can we do? I didn't expect that the fall of Zhang Dingyi would bring so much trouble to our Zhang family. Shadow Master's prestige is extremely high now. As long as the policies she proposes are not too outrageous, all the elders will support them. If we want to place people in the various branches, he can be transferred back to headquarters at any time. If this continues, it will become a competition of resources between our Zhang family and the entire Blood Shadow and the Yan Kingdom. I'm afraid that in less than 10 years, our Zhang family's wealth will be exhausted. Once the Zhang family falls, Even if Shadow Master doesn't deal with us, the Su family won't let us go. There's no point in continuing to be tough. Instead of waiting for Shadow Master and the Su family's butcher knife to fall on our necks, it's better to give in now. At this point I don't expect to have any more power. It's enough to protect the family. Zhang Mingchen was also here. When he heard this he was puzzled. Father, our Zhang family's tens of thousands of years of foundation. How can we give up just like that? Zhang Dingming glared at his son, shook his head and sighed. You're really hopelessly stupid. Mingjue, what do you think? Zhang Mingjue answered, Uncle, the Yen Kingdom's intention is to control Blood Shadow and make it a subordinate organization of the Yen Kingdom. The reason why they're targeting us is that we want to control Blood Shadow. As long as we give up Blood Shadow, there won't be any conflict of interest with the Yen Kingdom. If we continue to resist, the Zhang family will not be able to protect itself, and we won't be able to stop Shadow Master and the Yen Kingdom's power. Now our Zhang family has only lost our power. The most important thing is that our clansmen and heritage are still there. If we can take the initiative to give in and request to move to the northern counties of the Yen Kingdom, the Yen Kingdom's Grand Emperor will definitely give us a place to settle down. Moreover, our Zhang family is only giving up our power in Blood Shadow. The property will still be ours. In the future, Blood Shadow will become a subordinate force of the Yen Kingdom. There's no difference whether we work in Blood Shadow or work in the Yen Kingdom. Zhang Dingming's face revealed a gratified smile. With Mingjue, our Zhang family still has hope. Mingchen, although you're not very intelligent, you're still above average. However, your scope is too small. You can't even be considered below average. You're even worse than Mingge. Therefore you're only below average. I've been fighting with Su Boyu for hundreds of years and I've always had the upper hand. In terms of intelligence, I'm still slightly inferior to him. I can beat him because my scope is bigger than his. Sometimes, the scope is more important than intelligence. Wang Daoyuan's management ability can only be considered above average. He's much worse than Su Boyu and me. However, his scope is big enough. The ability he's shown is also far above mine. Otherwise, the Wang family wouldn't have risen so quickly. Without a scope, even if you're extremely intelligent, you can only fish in a muddy pond. So what if you fish out all the fish in the muddy pond? You can only eat a few full meals. If your scope is big enough, you can fish in the rivers, lakes and seas. With some ability, you can live without worrying about food and clothing. It's much better than staying in the muddy pond. I'm going to find Shadow Master and the Grand Emperor to request to move some of our clansmen to the Yen Kingdom. In the future you should learn from Mingjue. Don't just focus on those few spirit stones. Zhang Mingchen was somewhat dissatisfied. That's billions of mid-grade spirit stones and a lot of property. Chapter 925. In his anger, Zhang Dingming slapped Zhang Mingchen again. You really can't be carved out of rotten wood. The Wang family was just a foundation establishment family back then, but they produced a very ambitious Wang Daoyuan. Our Zhang family is a large family with tens of thousands of years of history. How did we produce a frog in a well like you? Other than wealth, you don't care about anything else. Hand over the affairs in your hands to Mengju and reflect on your mistakes in the future. When you've thought it through, come out and manage the family affairs. Wang Daoyuan's mindset was mainly influenced by his previous life. After all, in a world with advanced information, one could see all kinds of things. No matter how good one was at thinking and summarizing things, one's mindset would gradually become bigger. Zhang Mingchen still wanted to argue, but Zhang Dingming glared at him and he immediately shut his mouth. Then he left the Zhang family's spiritual mountain and went to Blood Shadow City. When he arrived at the Zhou family's courtyard, he cupped his hands at the door and said, Shadow Master, retired Emperor, Zhang Dingming of the Zhang family wishes to see you. Zhang Dingming had always been at odds with Zhou Wan and had never interacted with her. Now that he suddenly came to visit and was quite polite, the two of them were a little surprised. One would not hit a smiling person. Since he came to visit, they could not be too rude. Wang Daoyuan opened the door and welcomed Zhang Dingming in. Grand Elder, may I know why you're here? Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, I overestimated myself and made an enemy of Shadow Master and retired Emperor. Now that the Zhang family is at the end of its rope, we're willing to serve Shadow Master and retired Emperor. As long as you're willing to accept the Zhang family, I'm willing to commit suicide. Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, this old man is really cunning. He said he's going to commit suicide. If he really dies, Blood Shadow will be in trouble. Although the Zhang family no longer has a chance to turn the tables, they still have a lot of power in the various branches. They're still far from being at the end of their rope. If he dies, the branches under the Zhang family's control will cut off contact with the headquarters out of fear. If they continue to hide, half of Blood Shadow's intelligence system will be destroyed. His timing is very accurate. If he dares to say this in a few years, I'll really kill him. But now he was still hesitant to act, so he could only appease her. Grand Elder must be joking. Whether it is Zhou Xian or my Wang clan, we have no enmity with the Zhang clan. The previous conflict was just a power struggle between both sides. Since the Zhang family wants to reconcile, there's no need for us to exterminate them. Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, in that case, many thanks for retired Emperor's grace of not killing me. Although the Zhang family had tens of thousands of years of foundation, Blood Shadow was an underground force after all. The headquarters was deep underground, so there wasn't enough space. Outside was the southern wasteland. Ordinary clansmen couldn't survive there. The Zhang family didn't have many members, so their development was greatly restricted. I want to move most of the Zhang family to the Yan kingdom. What do you think, retired emperor? Since he had already referred to himself as a subject, his intentions were clear. The Zhang family had to give up their power and status in Blood Shadow and focus their operations on Yan kingdom in the future. Wang Daoyuan naturally welcomed this. If he could move most of the Zhang and Su family's forces elsewhere, the Wang family would be able to completely control Blood Shadow. It just so happened that Xianbei needed people to develop it. Moving the Zhang family there would play a big role. Of course, Zhang Dingming, a Yuanying cultivator, couldn't be placed in Blood Shadow's headquarters. It was better to move him to Xianbei. His position was also very easy to arrange. Zhou Xian was the governor of Hell King County. Yan Kingdom occupied a quarter of Xianbei and only established 3 counties: Guiyan, Hell King and Luoxing. These 3 counties added together were less than 1/10 of the entire Xianbei territory of Yan Kingdom. They just needed to find a place to establish a county and let Zhang Dingming be the governor. Yan Kingdom occupied a quarter of Xianbei. Now most of the land is empty. There are often rogue cultivators and forces from Xianbei running to Xianbei to occupy the spirit veins and industries. I have the intention to establish a few more counties, but the counties in Xianbei are all ruled by Yuanying cultivators. Yan Kingdom's talents haven't matured yet, so there's no suitable candidate for governor. Grand Elder's cultivation level is enough. If you want, you can be the governor of Xianbei. Zhang family's disciples can also join in the migration to Xianbei. There are many level 4 spirit veins there. Guiyan Mountain's spirit vein is not far from level 5. Its potential is much stronger than the southern wasteland where Blood Shadow's headquarters is located. Being able to become the governor of a county right after joining the Yan Kingdom was an excellent condition. As for the other 2 governors, Zhou Xian had joined the Wang family for many years. The other one was a half-demon. It was a prestigious position to let them govern themselves and slowly assimilate. Zhang Dingming was naturally very happy. He originally wanted to get a few level 4 spirit veins and settle down for his family. He didn't expect to become a governor directly. Greetings, Your Majesty. Thank you for your generosity. May I ask, retired emperor, how should we deal with the branches under the control of the Zhang family? Since Zhang family has decided to join the Yan Kingdom, keep them for now. We can slowly move them to Yan Kingdom later. By the way, the Hall Master of Sanhe branch in Zhao country is from your Zhang family, right? Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, all the branches in Zhao country have always been under my Zhang family's jurisdiction. The Hall Master of Sanhe branch, Li Xing, was promoted by me. Because it's too close to Yan Kingdom, I didn't place any Zhang family disciples there. However, he will still listen to me. Now that Zhang family is a subject of Yan Kingdom, it's just a matter of a word for him to cooperate with Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's influence will soon cover the entire Zhao country. This old man was indeed shrewd. He saw through Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's intention. Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce was just a startup and mainly operated in Yan Kingdom. As long as they could take over many branches in Zhao country, they could open up a channel for expansion. They had already reached an agreement with Song country. They could go through Wuqing Pass to Song Country and develop the central and southern parts of Wanlong Mountain. Zhang Daoyu is indeed an experienced schemer. With the cooperation of Sanhe Branch, Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce can quickly expand. The Chamber of Commerce is in need of people. My Wang family has few people. It's not easy to develop important industries in Yan Kingdom. Now Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce can't send too many disciples. They can only recruit a large number of itinerant cultivators. However, these itinerant cultivators have no family and are not very reliable. Therefore, I want to recruit some of the Zhang family disciples into the Chamber of Commerce. It's better to have subordinates with families and businesses than those without roots. Zhang Dingming was pleasantly surprised. Although the Wang family was like adding oil to the fire and had strong momentum, it lacked a foundation. Otherwise, there would be no need to establish Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce and develop various industries. Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's importance went without saying. Now that the Chamber of Commerce was newly established, anyone who could squeeze in would be considered an elder. In the future, when the Chamber of Commerce expanded, their status would be higher. Many thanks for your Majesty's kindness. The disciples of the Zhang family's various branches will be at your Majesty's disposal. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "That's good. I'll send a letter to Yan Kingdom and get them to establish a few counties in the northern part of the mountain. When they are ready, you can go over and take up the post." After saying that, Xiaochen got Zhou Wan to take out the token and send a letter to Wang Daojian. Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, "Many thanks, Your Majesty. If Your Majesty and Shadow Master have no other instructions, this old subject will take his leave first." Wang Daoyuan nodded and Zhang Dingming left the courtyard. After he left, Zhou Wan asked, "This fellow is an old fox. Do you really plan to use him? Other than you and me, there are no other Yuanning cultivators in the family. When we travel to the Sea of Seven Stars in the future, aren't you afraid that your subject will be strong and your master will be weak?" "There's no need to worry about that. Mingchen has awakened the Nanmingli fire. With the help of the spiritual fire, his cultivation speed won't be slow. It will only take him 100 years to break through to the Yuanning realm. In addition, with the 10,000 spirits pagoda, even peak-stage Yuanning cultivators can't touch him. Why should he be afraid of an early-stage Yuanning cultivator? Before I leave, I'll leave behind some 5th-grade sword cultivator puppets. They can kill early-stage Yuanning cultivators as easily as cutting vegetables. Whoever dares to cause trouble will be courting death." Chapter 926. The Zhang family had sought refuge in the Yan Kingdom, and so had the Su family. More than 90% of the elders in Blood Shadow supported Zhou Wan. Only Elder Han and a few other elders remained neutral. People like them would not be biased towards any faction. They were the ones who were loyal to Blood Shadow. Unfortunately, Blood Shadow's main forces were the Zhang and Su families. These two families had pledged their allegiance to Zhou Wan, and some non-direct elders had also pledged allegiance to her. Blood Shadow had already become the property of the Wang clan. The few elders did not have the ability to stop them at all. He didn't need to do anything else. He just needed to wait quietly. Once the Chamber of Commerce expanded, it would slowly swallow up the various branches of Blood Shadow. Once all the branches became part of the Chamber of Commerce, Zhou Wan could propose that Blood Shadow be fully integrated into the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. The Wang clan disciples would not have to go through so much trouble and follow the rules to enter Blood Shadow's headquarters. As long as he entered the Chamber of Commerce, he would be able to come to Blood Shadow's headquarters to receive guidance as a disciple of the Chamber of Commerce. This would allow the Wang family to digest the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts even faster. At that time, the Yan Kingdom could be considered as a true top force. Since the Zhang family had already sided with them, there was no need for the Su family to torment the Zhang family's branch. In the future, the Zhang and Su families would enter the Yan Kingdom. These two families with tens of thousands of years of history had a deeper foundation than the Wang family. Currently, the two families' biggest weakness was that they didn't have enough ordinary clansmen. After all, they were in the southern wasteland and ordinary people couldn't live outside. Although the underground of the headquarters and the secret realm were vast, there was a limit to the number of people that could be accommodated. The Zhang and Su families only had 2 to 3 million mortals. Although the environment in Shanbei was not very good, it was much better than in the southern wilderness. After establishing a foundation in Shanbei, the number of ordinary clansmen of the two families would increase rapidly. After making up for the shortcoming of having too few ordinary people, the strength of the two families would grow very quickly in the future. Therefore, it was best for these two families to restrain each other so that they wouldn't have other ideas. Zhou Xian asked, after dealing with Blood Shadow, "Are you going to return to Jade's Spring Peak?" "There's no rush. Ming Ren and Ming Xian are already 9 years old. Next year I'll bring them back to Jade's Spring Peak to acknowledge their ancestors. After that, I will stay in the Yen Kingdom to accompany them for a few years. When they get used to living in the family, I'll come back to accompany you. Before I left Beiyuan, I made you a promise. The next time I go to the Sea of Seven Stars, I will definitely bring you along. I've caused a lot of trouble over there. All the major forces in the Qixingxi Xiuxin community are after me. With your current strength, you might run into a lot of trouble there. Before you leave, you have to work hard to raise your cultivation. With my help, your cultivation speed will be faster, right?" Zhou Xian pinched him on the waist. "The two children are still here. Don't speak in such a rude manner." The presence of the two little fellows was indeed a bit of a hindrance. Now that Blood Shadow's side was in harmony, Wang Daoyuan didn't have to think about who to deal with. He also had plenty of time to perfect his own cultivation methods and spells. A year's time quickly passed. During this year, Wang Daoyuan focused on deducing the blooming water divine thunder. After all, when he went to the Sea of Seven Stars in the future, water-type spells were still the most reliable in the vast sea. In terms of cultivation methods, making even a small change required a lot of effort. He could only stop here. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian were already 10 years old. Wang Daoyuan took out a qi testing disc and told them to test their spirit roots. As Wang Mingren grew older, his personality became more and more domineering. He had a fearless demeanor. However, he wasn't afraid that he would be lawless in the future. The Yen Kingdom was Wang Mingqian's territory. Dealing with a brat wasn't a problem. Now that he heard that he had to test his spirit root, he quickly ran over. "Father, I'll go first." With that, he placed his small hand on the qi testing disc. He was now at the 5th level of qi refinement. He didn't need Wang Daoyuan's help to activate the qi testing disc. Soon, a 9-inch and 9-centimeter silver pillar of light appeared on the qi testing disc. Cultivators with heavenly spirit roots could appear in every era. That was the 9-inch and 8-centimeter spirit root. A 9-inch and 9-centimeter spirit root wasn't something that could be found in every era. His talent was slightly stronger than Wang Mingqian's, but Wang Mingqian had the Nanmingli fire to help him cultivate. This was equivalent to increasing the talent of his spirit root. Overall, his cultivation speed should be faster than his. A 9-inch and 9-centimeter heavenly spirit root is indeed rare. His talent isn't bad, but he needs to cultivate more. Then Wang Mingxian also placed her hand on the qi testing disc. Soon, a jade green pillar of light appeared on the qi testing disc. It was 9.7 inches tall. Her constitution should be a special with spirit body. Both her spirit body and spirit root were formed by the connate 5 elements qi. People with spirit bodies usually didn't have high spirit roots because the connate 5 elements qi was scattered. It wasn't easy to have a 9-inch and 7-centimeter spirit root. The two children's spirit roots were extremely talented. Zhou Xian was naturally very satisfied. "The child I gave birth to is indeed extraordinary." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Alright, it's all thanks to you. If there's nothing else to prepare, I'll be bringing them back to the Yen Kingdom." Zhou Wan's face was originally full of smiles, but now her eyes were filled with tears. "These two children have been by my side since they were young. I really can't bear to leave them now." Wang Daoyuan comforted her. "Don't worry too much. The Yen Kingdom is my territory. They also have Mingqian as their big brother. Who would dare to bully them?" Zhou Xian took out 2 small bags. "These are their clothes. I don't need to prepare anything for them. Anyway, you don't lack anything." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Alright, we'll be leaving now. Mingren, Mingxian, follow me back to the Yen Kingdom to acknowledge our ancestors." The two of them had never run around since they were young. At most, they played in the courtyard or around the neighborhood. Now that they heard that they could go on a long trip, they were especially excited. They each carried their own small bags and ran out of the door. Wang Daoyuan had already informed Zhang Mingguang that he would bring his family along when he returned to the Yen Kingdom. Although the Zhang family had already surrendered to the Yan kingdom, his identity as a traitor of the Zhang family was still confirmed. Even if Zhang Dingming didn't say anything, the juniors of the Zhang family might target them. For safety's sake, it was better to send his family away. Wang Daoyuan walked out of the courtyard with the two little guys. Zhang Mingguang was already waiting outside with more than 30 people. When he saw Wang Daoyuan, he bowed and said, "Retired Emperor, my family is here. Please take them to the Linhai branch." His son was the deputy hall master of the Linhai branch. These families could also settle down there. "Don't worry. When we reach the Yan kingdom, I'll send someone to send them there." The group of people followed Wang Daoyuan out of the Blood Shadow headquarters and came to the ground. Wang Daoyuan took out the 5th grade flying boat. The group of people rode the flying boat and headed north. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had never been far from the small courtyard before. Now not only could they run far away, but they could also fly in the sky. They were curious about everything they saw. Wang Mingxian pointed to the east and said, "Father, there's something very tall in the east. Is it the mountain mentioned in the book?" Wang Daoyuan nodded. "This is the tallest and longest mountain range in Beiyuan Zhou Xian. It's called the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. Go north along this mountain range and you can return to the Yan kingdom. Our Wang family's clansmen and your eldest brother are all there." Wang Mingren asked, "Why is it called the Sky Beheading Mountain Range? Has it been cut off?" "It has indeed been cut off. Hundreds of thousands of miles to the south is the break of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. When the devil race invaded, a sword Immortal cut off the mountain range with a sword when killing the devil race." Wang Mingren had a yearning look on his face. He then asked who cut off the mountain range. Along the way, the two little fellows had to get to the bottom of everything they saw. Wang Daoyuan also patiently explained to the two of them. Every time they encountered a relatively good scenery, they begged Wang Daoyuan to stop and watch for a while. After 6 or 7 days, the flying boat finally entered the Yan kingdom. Chapter 927. The flying boat flew above the river. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had seen many rivers along the way, but they were still very surprised when they saw Wanchuanhe. Wang Mingren asked, "Father, is that a river?" Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Of course it's a river. This is the biggest river in Beiyuan Zhou Xian. It's called Wanchuanhe. The big river in the north that flows into Wanchuanhe is called Qingli River. The source of Qingli River is our Wang family's Jade Spring Peak." The two little guys were so shocked by Wanchuanhe that they couldn't speak. They just nodded in a daze. The flying boat landed at Wanchuanhe Market and put down Zhang Mingguang's family. Jiaqi arranged for people to send them to the Linhai branch. Then the flying boat continued to head north. 4 hours later, they arrived at Qingli City. Wang Mingxian looked at the city below and asked, "Father, is this our home? It's so beautiful." "This is Qingli City, so it's naturally our home. Your big brother lives here. You two can live here if you want." After saying that, the flying boat landed outside the palace. They walked into the palace and came to the imperial study where Wang Mingchen usually handled official business. Wang Shui and Wang Daochong were also here. Wang Mingchen's cultivation speed was indeed fast. He was already at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. But it was normal. Wang Daoyuan used more than 20 years to cultivate from the early stage of the Golden Core realm to the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. Later on, it only took him 20 years to cultivate from the middle stage of the Golden Core realm to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. His cultivation speed relied on the spiritual fire to save time refining spirit qi, so his cultivation speed was comparable to ordinary cultivators with heavenly spirit roots. Wang Mingchen himself had a heavenly spirit root, so his speed of condensing vital essence was much faster than Wang Daoyuan. Also, the Nanmingli fire increased the speed of refining spirit qi. Golden Core realm didn't need to consider the balance of the 5 elements, so it was natural for his cultivation speed to be faster than Wang Daoyuan. Seeing Wang Daoyuan bring the two little guys in, Wang Mingchen bowed and said, "Greetings, father. Are they Mingren and Mingxian?" After saying that, he pinched their little faces. Wang Mingxian only looked at Wang Mingchen curiously. Wang Mingren was fearless. "If you dare to bully me and my sister, I'll beat you up." Wang Mingchen laughed. "Why would I bully you? I'm your brother, don't you think I look familiar?" Wang Mingxian replied, "You look like my mother, but why is your hair red?" "My hair was also black in the past, but after my vermilion bird bloodline awakened, my hair became fiery red. Don't you see Imperial Father also has a strand of red hair on his head? Now that you know who I am, why don't you call me Big Brother? There were many members of the same generation in the Wang clan. Other than those who were ranked at the top, they didn't refer to the others by their ranks. Wang Mingchen was also very small in the Ming generation. He was ranked in the 300th place. Wang Mingxian cupped her hands obediently and said, "Brother." Wang Mingren also stopped being stubborn and followed suit. Wang Mingchen took out some spirit fruits and said, "Good girl, take this and eat it." Father, Mingren and Mingxian's physiques are not ordinary. How are their spiritual roots? Mingren has a 9-inch 9-part metal spiritual root while Mingxian has a 9-inch 7-part wood spiritual root. However, their physiques are very special, so I can't tell. Ancestor Myriad Spirits is experienced and knowledgeable, so you should be able to see some clues. Wang Mingchen was a little surprised. Mingren's spiritual root is strong enough. Coupled with his special physique, he is also a rare genius. With that, he summoned the 10,000 Spirits Pagoda and Ancestor Myriad Spirits appeared. This gave the two little guys a fright. Wang Mingxian was more timid and directly hid behind Wang Daoyuan. Wang Mingren was more daring. He took out his short sword magic weapon and was about to attack. Wang Daoyuan touched their heads and said with a smile, "Don't be afraid. This is an artifact spirit. It listens to your big brother and won't hurt you." Ancestor Myriad Spirit's eyes emitted golden light as he carefully examined their bodies. A moment later, a look of shock appeared on his face. After being stunned for a long time, his expression turned nostalgic and sorrowful. His expression changed several times before it turned into joy. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Ancestor Myriad Spirits, don't keep us in suspense. What's the deal with their special physiques? Say something." Ancestor Myriad Spirits sighed. Their physiques are indeed extraordinary, especially Mingxian's physique. Reminds me of an old master. Her physique is also a kind of spiritual body, but not all spiritual bodies are the same. The most common spiritual body is Wang Delin's water spiritual body. Mingxian's physique is a rare wood spiritual body called wood spiritual body. This kind of physique is very rare. In the history of the Valley of Beasts, only one person has appeared, and that was Divine Sovereign Greenwood. When he cultivated to the foundation establishment stage, he could directly communicate with spiritual plants and understand their meaning. When he reached the Purple Mansion realm, he could directly control all kinds of spiritual plants to fight against enemies. He was not like ordinary wood attribute cultivators who still needed to use their own magic to grow suitable spiritual plants. Back then, Divine Sovereign Greenwood's Purple Mansion anomaly was a small green sapling that emitted a strong vitality. He also used his Purple Mansion anomaly to control spiritual plants. Mingxian's physique is not much different from his, so she will probably be able to do this in the future. By the way, is this little girl particularly interested in spiritual plants? Wang Daoyuan nodded. Indeed, I opened up a small spiritual field for her in the courtyard of Bloodshadow's headquarters. Ever since she learned how to walk, she has spent most of her time taking care of the spiritual field. That's right. This kind of physique is naturally close to spiritual plants. Divine Sovereign Greenwood was the only 8th-level spiritual plant farmer in the entire Qianyuan realm. Even those Earth Immortals were far inferior to him. She also cultivates the wood immortality technique, right? That's very suitable. Although her fighting strength is weak now, once she reaches the Purple Mansion realm, her strength will not be inferior to sword cultivation geniuses of the same level. If she is in a place with more high-level spiritual plants, she will be truly invincible among her peers. Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed. As an old father, he was naturally gratified that his daughter could be so promising. Ancestor Myriad Spirits continued. As for Ming Ren's physique, it is also a type of combat physique. This type of combat physique is rare and is called sword physique. Anyone with this physique is born with a sharp aura in their body. All of them are natural sword cultivators. Sword physiques are more common than the wood spiritual physique, but there are many types. This physique is somewhat related to bloodline inheritance. When I looked at his physique, I didn't find any bloodline of an expert sword cultivator. His sword physique is most likely influenced by your sword aura or sword spirit. I think he cultivates the killing sword art of White Tiger Hull, which is extremely suitable. It is also possible to let him cultivate the Guiyuan sword art. However, the Guiyuan sword art is a non-elemental cultivation technique. It is best for cultivators with 5 spiritual roots to cultivate. Guiyuan Sword Immortal's eldest disciple, Guiyuan, had a metal attribute heavenly spiritual root and also had a sword physique. Such a genius was personally taught by Guiyuan Sword Immortal, but in the end he was only barely able to enter the ranks of mighty figures. Although the killing sword art is not as brilliant as the Guiyuan sword art, it is more suitable for cultivators with metal spiritual roots. When he cultivates to a high enough realm, he can deduce the cultivation technique on his own. The appearance of a spirit body has nothing to do with bloodline. It is basically luck. The appearance of a sword physique has a lot to do with bloodline. Since Wang Mingren did not have the bloodline of an expert sword cultivator, he was most likely influenced by the sword spirit. Before Zhou Xian was pregnant with the two of them, Wang Daoyuan helped Guiyuan Sword Immortal temper the Guiyuan sword in the decimating heaven abyss. He should have been influenced by the sword spirit. In addition, the 5 artifact spirits that he tempered were about to take form. They would more or less be influenced. Wang Daoyuan summoned Yinglong and Patriarch Myriad Spirits hurriedly hid in the Myriad Spirits pagoda. I say, Grand Emperor, I didn't do anything. Why did you summon this living ancestor? You have lived for more than 200,000 years. Do you have to be so afraid? Previously, I used Guiyuan Sword Immortal's inheritance to nurture a few embryonic artifact spirits. They were nurtured by a massive amount of heaven and earth's gifts as well as Yinglong's power. However, they have always been stuck at the threshold of taking form, unable to become true artifact spirits. As a senior among the artifact spirits, you should guide them. Chapter 928. Back when he was in the Xianxia Xiuxian community, he had already nurtured 5 embryonic forms of artifact spirits. It had been nearly 60 years since then. During this period he had received many gifts from the heavens and the earth and had eaten a lot of the essence of the 5 elements spiritual fire. Coupled with Yinglong's charm and extremely strong luck, the foundation of ordinary artifact spirits could not be compared to the 5 of them. Now their state was very close to that of a normal artifact spirit, but they could not take the last step. Yinglong spat out 5 light balls with a diameter of more than 5 inches, which quickly turned into the appearance of the 5 elements divine beasts. They were not weak in terms of movement and strength, but their intelligence was obviously lacking. Once artifact spirits were born, their intelligence was close to that of humans. Moreover, they would have different personalities according to their own laws. These 5 embryonic forms of artifact spirits were completely at the mercy of others. Their intelligence was extremely low and they only had the most basic instincts. Ancestor Myriad Spirits came out of the 10,000 Spirits Pagoda and looked at the 5 embryonic forms of artifact spirits. Even an old monster like him who had lived for more than 200,000 years could not help but reveal an envious expression. These 5 little guys have been fed too many good things by you, and Yinglong has nurtured them personally, so their luck is too strong. If they can become true artifact spirits, the possibility of them becoming spirit clan members in the future is very high. However, their success is due to their foundation and their failure is also due to their foundation. They have not been able to take the next step and become true artifact spirits because their foundation is too strong. You human geniuses and semi-divine beasts all have extremely strong heavenly tribulations, and artifact spirits are the same. The 5 of them are equivalent to the peerless geniuses of the human race. Their talent is too strong, so it is naturally difficult to form them. As long as one was a nascent soul cultivator, they would be able to nurture an ordinary artifact spirit. The strength of these 5 artifact spirits has already reached the peak of the 5th stage. After they have developed intelligence, they will have a big breakthrough and may reach the 6th stage as soon as they are formed. You are only a peak Yuanian cultivator now, so you can't nurture a 6th stage artifact spirit. Once you break through to the soul formation realm, there should be no problem. Wang Daoyuan nodded. I thought it was almost time to nurture them, but I didn't expect that I would have to wait for a while. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian couldn't move their eyes away from the weapon spirit. The 5-inch-long artifact spirits looked like pets. Wang Mingren chased after the White Tiger artifact spirit while Wang Mingxian chased after the Azure Dragon artifact spirit. The auras of these 2 artifact spirits were similar to their special constitutions, which was very attractive to them. Patriarch Myriad Spirits said, This artifact spirit of yours was refined from Sword Immortal Beiyuan's legacy. I believe it's the 3 treasures artifact nurturing technique. Back when Sword Immortal Beiyuan created this mystic art to nurture artifact spirits, he had consulted me. From the looks of it, he should have succeeded. The 3 treasures tool nurturing technique was mainly used to nurture a sword spirit. It seemed like Ming Ren's sword body was affected by the white tiger tool spirit. It's just that your nurturing method is a little wrong. If you nurture it in Yinglong's body, you'll be able to obtain extremely strong luck and the charm of the 5 elements divine beasts. However, they were artifact spirits after all. They couldn't stay in contact with artifacts for a long time, so their connection with artifacts was very weak. Without the support of an artifact, the artifact spirit would be flawed. It seems that this artifact spirit hasn't taken shape yet. It should be because of the lack of contact with artifacts. If this goes on, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to fully take shape when you break through to the soul formation realm. Wang Daoyuan nodded. Indeed, I've been keeping them inside Rain Dragon's body. I'll only put them into my magic tool when I'm about to unleash my killing move. It seems that I'll have to put them in artifacts in the future. By the way, Mingchen, how's the situation of the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce? Wang Mingchen replied, now the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce has set up a headquarters and 4 branches. The headquarters is in Qingli City. The 4 branches are in Linhai Prefecture, Myriad Rivers Market, Guiyan City, and Falling Star Plain. I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce. There are 2 vice presidents, Brother Ming Kong and Uncle 27th. I'm just a nominal leader. After all, the others don't have enough prestige in such a big business. The usual affairs are left to the vice presidents. In order to control the situation, Brother Ming Kong has also formed his corps. After the Chamber of Commerce was established, it recruited rogue cultivators wantonly. Now it has recruited more than 30 Zifu realm rogue cultivators, more than 500 Foundation Establishment rogue cultivators, and more than 3,000 Qi refinement rogue cultivators. This was because the Chamber of Commerce had just started and the businesses it developed were too few. When those businesses started to produce large amounts of resources, it could use these resources to recruit more rogue cultivators. After the Zhang family surrendered, Ming Kong and Uncle 27th also contacted Hull Master Sanhe. He also agreed to join the Chamber of Commerce. When we have enough people here and discuss with the state of Zhao, we can set up chambers of commerce everywhere in the state of Zhao. Naturally, there were some Wang family disciples and Blood Shadow disciples in the Chamber of Commerce. With all of them added together, their strength was comparable to the Netherworld sect from before. And it had only been 5 years since the Chamber of Commerce was established. You've done very well. I sent you a letter to set up a few counties in the northern part of the mountain. How's it going now? Wang Mingchen replied, I've set up a territory to the west of Guiyan County that is 100,000 miles long from east to west and 10,000 miles wide from north to south. I've set up the South Desert County to settle the Su family disciples. In the future, when the Su family has Yuanying cultivators, they can also come over to serve as the governor of South Desert County. In addition to the west of South Desert County and Falling Stars County, I've set up a Hanhai County that is 20,000 miles wide from east to west and 50,000 miles long from north to south to settle the Zhang family. This Hanhai County is about the same size as South Desert County, but more than half of it is desert. However, the desert in the north of Hanhai County has many rivers that originate from Mount Huiyan. There are many oases that are much better than Falling Stars County. The Zhang family surrendered later than the Su family and opposed Imperial Mother. Even if they surrendered now, their treatment should be worse than the Su family. However, in order to keep the Su family in check, they can't be too weak. Therefore, I've made this arrangement. If Imperial Father has no objections, I can issue an edict at any time to appoint Zhang Dingming as the governor of Yan County's Hanhai County. Wang Daoyuan was very satisfied. Not bad. You've learned how to balance the various powers. I have nothing to worry about when I leave the affairs of the state of Yan to you. I'll take Ming Rin and Ming Xian to acknowledge their ancestors first. You can decide on these matters yourself. After saying that, Wang Daoyuan recalled the 5 weapon spirits and left the imperial study with the 2 children. They sat on the flying boat and flew towards Yuchuan Peak. After more than 10 years, the grade of Yuchuan Peak's spirit vein has improved by quite a bit. Previously it was only at the upper grade of the 4th rank. Now it has reached the peak of the 4th rank and is only a step away from the 5th rank. Of course, the spirit vein in Qingli City has also improved, but it hasn't reached the upper grade of the 4th rank yet. After all, the foundation of the spirit vein there is a bit worse. Its growth is already somewhat weak. It still needs a long time to grow to the 5th rank. The flying boat landed on Yuchuan Peak. Patriarch Wang Mingshan and Wang Daoshu came out to welcome them. The two little guys have good memories. When they saw Wang Daoshu, they rushed over and called her 8th aunt. Wang Daoshu hugged them in her arms and smiled. I didn't dote on you two little things for nothing. You still remember aunt? Wang Mingchen cupped his hands and said, 7th uncle, the ancestral recognition has been prepared. We can start at any time. Wang Daoyuan smiled and nodded. This matter can be handled by you as the patriarch. Soon the two of them changed into the Wang family's white robes with dragon and fish patterns. Wang Mingshan brought them into the ancestral hall and kowtowed to the ancestral tablets. Then their names were recorded in the family tree. Then a wisp of their soul was extracted to refine a soul lamp. At this point the two of them officially acknowledged their ancestors. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to look at the family tree. The two of them were already ranked after the 500th rank. There are many people in the family, so it is quite difficult to figure out who is older and who is younger. At this moment, a wave of spirit energy came from a cave abode beside the Jade Dragon's spring. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to investigate. It turned out that a family member had broken through. He carefully investigated and found that this person was the second cultivator of the Wang family with the heavenly spirit root, Wang Dalan. He was only in his 30s now, and his cultivation had already reached the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Chapter 929. He was already at the 9th level of Foundation Establishment before the age of 35. At this rate, Wang Dalan would be able to open his Violet Palace in 3 to 5 years. A Violet Palace realm cultivator before the age of 40 was extremely rare even among the top powers. Even if he were to accumulate in the Violet Palace realm, he would be able to form his gold core at around 100 years old. The cultivation speed of a heavenly spirit root and a spiritual body was truly terrifying. Wang Dalan only had a 9.3-inch water spirit root while his daughter had a 9.7-inch wood spirit root and wood spiritual body. In terms of cultivation speed, she should be faster than Wang Dalan. Moreover, the profound sky emerald spirit peach kernels in the spirit pearl could increase the height of a wood spirit root. When the peach tree bore fruit, he could use the kernels to increase the height of Wang Mingxian's spirit root. In this way, it was possible to create a cultivator with a 1-foot heavenly spirit root and a spiritual body. This kind of talent had only appeared in the Valley of Beasts back then, and it was also nurtured by the profound sky emerald spirit peach kernels. After Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian acknowledged their ancestors, Wang Daoyuan brought them out of the ancestral shrine and to the ancestral grave at the back of the mountain. Among the graves of the Shou generation, there was an especially large grave. This was the grave where Wang Daoyuan's parents were buried together. When ordinary clansmen were buried in the ancestral grave, their graves were mostly at the edge of the graveyard. It was already extremely rare for them to be buried together with other clansmen. They were the only ones whose grave was larger than the other clansmen's. Father, Mother Zhou Wan and I have given you a grandson and a granddaughter. Their cultivation talent is even better than Mingchen's. Mingren Mingxian, this is your grandparents' grave. Kowtow to them 3 times and let them see their grandson and granddaughter. The two little fellows were quite obedient and kowtowed to their grandparents. According to the clan's rules, children who had reached adulthood and started cultivating had to cultivate in the Wang clan's 100 Arts Hall. This was done to help the children cultivate and to foster a sense of belonging to the clan. Of course, it was also to control them. Children in their teens were at the age where they had strength but nowhere to use it. However, these children had already cultivated. If they weren't controlled, they could really poke a hole in the sky. Wang Daoyuan brought them to the west side of the Jade Spring Peak, where there was a flat land that covered an area of more than 20 mu. On the flat ground, more than 20 spacious wooden huts were built using spirit wood. Inside each wooden hut, there were a dozen to dozens of teenagers. From time to time, the sound of a lecture and children asking questions could be heard from the room. Of course, There were also the delightful cries of naughty children. Wang Daoyuan probed with his divine sense and found a middle-aged clansman slapping a child's palm. As he fought, he said, "Each of you drew 20 rain dissipation talismans. I only asked you to draw the talisman inscriptions. Everyone else has finished, but you forgot to bring it. I asked you to go back and get it, but you said you left it in Qingli City." Wang Daoyuan couldn't help but laugh. Different worlds, same excuse. This large building looked a bit like a school in his previous life. This was the Wang clan's 100 Arts Hall. Cultivators would stay here to study from the moment they started cultivating. After they reached the age of 20, they would work in various industries according to their abilities. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had a very good foundation. After all, they were personally taught by Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Xian, two Yuanyin cultivators. What they needed to learn was the 100 arts of cultivation. If it weren't for the sake of cultivating their sense of belonging to the clan, they would have been allowed to cultivate in the imperial palace of Qingli City. With the guidance of the old antique ancestor myriad spirits, it would be much better than here. Wang Daoyuan didn't deliberately conceal his aura. Soon a middle-stage Sifu realm cultivator came out. He bowed and said, "Grandson Wang Dexiang greets 7th granduncle, uncle and aunt." Wang Dexiang wasn't very old, only 150 or 60 years old. He had a high chance of forming his gold core. He was the hall master of the 100 Arts Hall, which was equivalent to the headmaster of the Wang clan's private school. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Mingren and Mingxian will cultivate here for the time being. Your Granny 7th and I have already taught them the general knowledge of cultivation. You can arrange for them to learn the 100 arts of cultivation. Mingxian is extremely talented as a spirit plant farmer. She can also be nurtured as a spirit chef and alchemist. Mingren is suitable for the path of artifact forging. You can also teach him a bit about formations. Their cultivation speed is too fast. I'm worried that their foundation won't be stable. Try to arrange more time for them to learn the 100 arts of cultivation." Wang Dexiang cupped his hands and said, "Don't worry, 7th granduncle. I'll arrange it well." Wang Daoyuan nodded. "Mingren, Mingxian, you two cultivate here. Listen to the elders. I've already sent a message to Wang Bei. He'll be here soon. He'll take care of you. If there's something he can't solve, he'll inform me." Before he finished speaking, a white cloud floated over from the southeast. Soon the white cloud landed on the mountain top. A muscular man wearing a black leather robe descended from the white cloud. Wang Daoyuan introduced, "Mingren, Mingxian, this is Wang Bei. You can call him Uncle Black in the future." Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian bowed and said, "Greetings, Uncle Black. Dahe, I'll leave these two little guys to you. Don't worry, second young master. I'm familiar with this job. Mingren, Mingxian, I'll protect you in the future. If you don't cultivate in the 100 Arts Hall, I'll beat you up for your parents. Your big brother Wang Mingchen was also beaten up by me when he was young." The two little guys looked at Dahe. He looked very similar to Wang Daoyuan, so they weren't too afraid. Wang Dexiang called over 2 Foundation Establishment juniors and brought Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian to 2 wooden houses to learn with the other disciples. Wang Daoyuan said a few more words to Dahe. Then he left the Jade Spring Peak and flew east. Dahe found a place nearby to meditate. 15 minutes later, Wang Daoyuan arrived near the Sky/Mountain Range's main mountain range. Previously he had refined the 5th grade sword puppet Xianxia. However, the Blood Shadow's headquarters was too small. There wasn't a place for it to familiarize itself with battle. The 5th grade sword puppet had also grasped the Beiyuan sword intent. Its strength wasn't inferior to those great demon kings. The only one who could spar with it was Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan released Xianxia and ordered it to attack him. It instantly turned into a silver light and attacked him. Then Xianxia used the Heavenly Dipper sword formation to surround Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan also condensed the Heavenly Dipper sword formation and clashed head-on with Xianxia's sword formation. The result was self-evident. Xianxia's sword formation directly shattered. Wang Daoyuan didn't attack again. Instead, he let Xianxia continue to attack. 2 months later, Xianxia could already skillfully use the sword cultivation techniques he had learned, although he was still unable to withstand a single blow from Wang Daoyuan. However, it was definitely not a problem to deal with a great demon king, especially since Xianxia had 2 things to track the enemy. One was a compass and the other was a secret technique. Wang Daoyuan couldn't hide from it even if he used the hidden demon art. He put Xianji into the space of the spirit pearl and returned to the Jade Spring Peak. In these 2 months, Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had already adapted to life in the 100 Arts Hall. Whenever they were free, they would go to Wang Daoshu's place to eat and drink. Their days were pretty good. A few days after Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Spring Peak, he received a message from his master, Perfected Lei Yan. He brought Wang Daoyin and Wang Mingting to the Jade Spring Peak to see Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian. They were about to reach the territory of the Yan Kingdom. Wang Daoyuan also took a flying boat and headed south. As soon as he arrived at Wanchuan Market, he saw a flying boat of the Divine Weapon Pavilion coming from the south. Seeing Wang Daoyuan coming to welcome him, Wang Daoyin stood on the bow of the boat and shouted, "Second brother, I'm here to see you." With that, he flew over from the Divine Weapon Pavilion's flying boat. He was already at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. When the demon beasts rebelled, Perfected Lei Yan was already prepared to die in battle. Disciples with high potential like him were all hidden in some mystic realms. After dealing with the demon race, Wang Daoyin had been in seclusion. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Third brother, we brothers haven't seen each other for many years. Isn't that so? You've left the cultivation world of the Northern Abyss for decades. After you came back, I have been in seclusion. If it weren't for the excuse of visiting his nephew and niece, I'm afraid Master wouldn't have let me out." Chapter 930. Lei Yan also came out of the cabin and stood at the bow. "You are my only personal disciple. You are only 10 years younger than Daoyuan and you started cultivating only 10 years later. Daoyuan is already at the peak of Yuanying, and you haven't even reached the peak of the Golden Core realm. Although the demons don't dare to show up now, there is still danger. Without the Yuanying realm, you can't even protect yourself. Ming Ting is your disciple and he is already at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. I told you to cultivate in seclusion because I expected better from you." Wang Daoyin didn't take it seriously. "My second brother is a rare genius. If it weren't for my special physique, I would only be an ordinary person. If I compete with him in cultivation speed, wouldn't I be asking for trouble?" Daoist Thunderflame's face was filled with disappointment, but he didn't say anything else. Soon he heard a sound coming from his body. "Lei Yan, let me out. I haven't seen my big brother for many years. I miss him." Lei Yan couldn't do anything to him, so he took out the purple gold exquisite pagoda. Ling Long also flew out of the pagoda and landed on Wang Daoyuan's shoulder. "Big brother, long time no see. Give me something to eat." Wang Daoyuan took out 5 rootless fires and gave them to Ling Long. "Not bad. Your strength has recovered to the middle of the 5th rank." She swallowed all the rootless fires. "You can only blame yourself for being too useless. If I followed you, I would have broken through to the peak of the 5th rank." Lei Yan was now at the middle stage of Yuanying. He was the first Yuanying cultivator after the decline of the spiritual aura in Beiyuan Zhou Xian. It had been more than 100 years since he broke through to the Yuanying realm. His talent was not bad, at least much better than Wang Daoyin's. Unfortunately, the spiritual aura recovery time was too short. Otherwise, he would have been at the late stage of Yuanying. Wang Daoyuan released a lot of rootless fires and Ling Long also ate and drank. The flying boat soon arrived at the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan sent a message to Dahe and learned that the 2 little guys were eating at 8 Fan's place. Dahe quickly brought them over, along with Wang Daoshu and Zhao Liang. When the 2 saw Daoist Thunderflame, they hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, Master." Daoist Thunderflame waved his hand. "There's no need to be so courteous. Looks like the rumors are true. Daoyuan, you really did obtain the inheritance of the man-made purple mansion phenomenon in the Valley of Beasts. Unfortunately, the Valley of Beasts, the #1 power in Beiyuan in the past, was annihilated by the demonic beasts. Otherwise, with the support of the Valley of Beasts, the human race would not have suffered such heavy losses during the chaos of the demon race 10,000 years ago." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Your disciple has indeed received some inheritances from the Valley of Beasts. However, the Wang family's foundation is too weak. It will take a long time to digest these inheritances." Lei Yanzhenren nodded. "Let's not talk about this. Ming Ren and Ming Xian are only 10 years old, right? They've already reached Qi disciple stage 5. Now that the spirit Qi had recovered, cultivators' cultivation speed was getting faster and faster. At this rate, they might be able to form their nascent souls before they're 200 years old. If they cultivate too fast, their foundations might become unstable. It's better to suppress their cultivation speed. Right, how are their spirit roots? Ming Ren has a 9-inch 9-point metal spirit root. His physique is sword body. Ming Xian has a 9-inch 7-point wood spirit root. Her physique is spirit body. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian were a bit shy. They just stared at Wang Daoyin. Wang Daoyuan introduced him to them. This is Grandmaster and also my master. This one looks like me and is your third uncle. He's also my younger brother. They obediently bowed. Greetings, Grandmaster. Greetings, third uncle. Lei Yanzhenren stroked his beard and laughed. These two children are even more talented than Ming Chen. It won't be difficult for them to cultivate to the Yuanying stage. I heard that the Wang family also produced a water spirit body with a heaven spirit root. They're really lucky. Then he took out 2 storage bags. This is a gift for my 2 grand disciples. My current refining skills are not as good as yours. Don't dislike this gift. Wang Daoyuan took the storage bags. Master, how can your gift be bad? How can I dislike it? Wang Daoyin also took out 2 storage bags. As their uncle, I have to do something. These are some small things I refined for my nephews and nieces to play with. Wang Daoyuan looked at the storage bags. There were some protective magic weapons in them, so he put them away. They're protected by Dahe now. There won't be any problems. I'll keep these things and give them to them when they grow up. Wang Daoyin glanced at Dahe and asked, "Is this Dahe?" I didn't dare to recognize it after it transformed. I thought it was another genius descendant of Big Brother. Dahe, why did you transform into Big Brother? Dahe laughed. I have to look like a human. I'm most familiar with young master, so I can only transform into his appearance. Lei Yan looked at it for a while and asked, Dahe, has he awakened the bloodline of an ancient beast? The aura on his body reminds me of the West Sea Demon clan. Master's really wise. Dahe has the bloodline of the heavenly dog, but the spiritual energy of heaven and earth can't stimulate it. I killed a lot of West Sea Demon clan before and used their blood essence to refine pills. These pills are cheap for Dahe. His heavenly dog bloodline is getting stronger and stronger. Lei Yan nodded. It's really good. With the awakening of the heavenly dog bloodline, it won't be a problem for him to cultivate to the 5th level in the future. Not long after, the banquet prepared by Wang Daoshu was served. Most of the people present were body refiners, so they were very interested in food. Lei Yan said while eating, Daoyin's cooking skills are too bad. I haven't eaten such delicious food in a long time. You gave him so many recipes, but he didn't learn any of them. You've ruined so many good ingredients in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Wang Daoyin didn't show any weakness. You still have the nerve to talk about me. Every time I cook, you blindly direct me. Sometimes you even do it yourself. The food I make isn't that delicious, but it's still edible. It's against my conscience to say that the food you make is edible. You don't have Daoyuan's talent in cultivation, and you can't compare to him in alchemy, tools, and talisman arrays. You can't even look at your cooking skills. You were such an honest child back then, but now you talk back to me. When you return to Jade's Spring Peak this time, don't even think about leaving if you don't learn some of Daoshu's cooking skills. After eating for a while, Wang Daoshu served several star-patterned sea cucumbers. Daoist Thunderflame took a bite and revealed an astonished expression. I've eaten a lot of sea cucumbers, but it's the first time I've eaten a 5th-level sea cucumber, and it even contains star power. This thing is definitely a treasure for body refiners. Where did you catch it? I'll go to the sea and catch some later. Our Beiyuan doesn't produce this thing. These sea cucumbers were all caught overseas. There's a special kind of spatial magic artifact over there that allows demon beasts and spirit plants to live and reproduce. It's just that this magic artifact is far inferior to a secret realm. It can only rely on external energy to maintain the stability of the space. I bought one over there and raised some star-patterned sea cucumbers in it. He took out a jade slip. This magic artifact isn't much different from a cosmos ring. It's just that the requirements for the materials are higher. Back in the day, the ancestors of the Valley of Beasts all traveled overseas and mastered the refining method of this magic artifact. I don't have any use for these things at the moment, so I haven't refined them. If you want to raise star-patterned sea cucumbers, You still need star power and a 5th level star core and a spatial treasure. This is the refining method for a life spirit ring. Master, you can give it a try. Lei Yan waved his hand. The Divine Weapon Pavilion controls many secret realms. This kind of storage space isn't very useful. However, this thing is still very valuable to wandering cultivators and some small factions. You can refine some and use them to earn spirit stones. The Divine Weapon Pavilion has a large business and won't compete with you for business. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.